The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. From the heart of Broadway and historic downtown Cape Girardeau, this is Pro Wrestling Unscripted.
Wednesday, July 3rd, 2019, and you are tuned into Pro Wrestling Unscripted here on the Podzilla 1985 Network. I want to thank you guys for tuning in once again. Shannon Young, Mr. 100, back after a week absence, along with Ali Abear, who is also back after a week absence.
Hello.
I know we skipped ahead there, but I just wanted to point out that we are back on the show this week. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And down at the end of the table is the 5-star man, Asa Gray, who... took care of business last week with Dalton Anthony.
Totally screwed up the audio.
Who did?
I did.
No, it sounded fine.
It did not.
Did you listen to it back?
Yeah.
Like on the show?
It was clearly way too loud. Like through my podcasting app.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because all right, so, and the Big D Dalton Anthony.
Yo.
When I got the audio, I noticed it looked super loud. And I'm like, oh, I can fix that. And I did what I could. And when I posted it and I listened to it on... It was either the computer, my computer at home. Mm-hmm. It sounded fine. I think it depends on what you're listening to it on, because there are shows that we do that when I listen to it on the laptop computer or on my phone, they sound terrible. But when I listen to it on a computer with like real speakers, it sounds good. So I wouldn't worry too much. You did a fine job, and you're a great host. And I'm confident that once we find a third person, you and Dalton will do very well with the new Pro Wrestling Unscripted coming soon.
Yeah, my favorite bit.
I thought your favorite bit was Turtle Dicks.
Oh my god! No, that one makes me laugh.
There was that moment where we're talking about CCW Live when Asa and Ali were doing it, and we had this isn't really the time to discuss how we got to the topic. We'll save that for Thursdays. But I posted a turtle emoji with an eggplant.
Yeah, it's the eggplant.
And Allie broke first. She stopped. Asa saw it. He stopped. We're all laughing.
It took me a second to because I saw her react, and I thought she just saw something like out of the corner of her eyes.
I kind of went into mom mode and was like, "Who did it? Who's?"
But I was a little worried there for a second. I thought, oh, either Asa's going to laugh or he's going to be so pissed at me for like interrupting the show. And when you started laughing, I felt so much better about myself. So of course, then Dalton, being Dalton, said, I'm going to take it a step further and keep going. And I
thought it was hilarious.
And finally I'm like hitting him and I'm like, you need to stop before Asa will kill you. Like
there was like 7 people in the chat the whole time. It's fine. And 4 of them were here. So
it wasn't me. I wasn't in there. I can't stand being there. The smell's terrible with those people. Anyway, I'm a heel. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about pro wrestling news. And this week, it's actually a big week for news. So it's a good week for me to come back. Oh nope, I'm gonna disagree.
No, I'm pissed that this broke on Thursday. Literally the next morning.
When I saw the headline, my first thought was,
of course,
there's our luck.
Typical.
Always happens.
So. Huge creative shift in WWE. Gigantic. Some people thought this was a storyline thing. It's not. It's absolutely 100% real. And if you thought that WWE does not see AEW on the radar, like you can't say that they don't at this point. It's clearly that it's on the radar, and they are, to their credit, trying to shake things up to make things better. Here's what they did. Paul Heyman has now been named the creative director of Monday Night Raw, and Eric Bischoff, former WCW general manager, I guess you would say, or
no, he was
like the owner.
He didn't
not
own
owner,
WCW,
but
main dude.
Yeah,
like
I forget his exact title. Executive president, something like that.
He was president. Yeah.
I think executive president sounds even better. I mean, because like you could be president, but like
you're the executive.
You're the executive president.
Put executive in front of everything. Sounds great.
I'm the executive.
But then once you find out the difference between a producer and an executive producer, you're like, oh.
But point is,
your name's just kind of on it.
They are now the leads on Raw and SmackDown. This is gigantic.
Worth noting, though, still answering directly to Vince McMahon.
Yes, so Vince still has the final say-so on it.
This is still very much Vince McMahon's show.
Well, so this is where he's just confused.
So he's just bringing in. It sounds like basically now the writers are answering to Heyman and Bischoff,
and they answer to Vince.
They answer to Vince.
So, and the legitimate question. Where is Stephanie McMahon in this?
That's what I was wondering, because like seeing this and it's like, okay, Paul Heyman makes sense. He is a constant part of WWE programming. He is there behind the scenes already. We know exactly what he's doing. And then you bring in Eric Bischoff,
Yeah.
who, aside from, and Dalton's going to have to correct me on this because I think you keep up with it more than I would, but like aside from 83 weeks, he's not really doing a lot within the world of wrestling.
No, he like will produce TV shows, and he'll be like behind TV shows that are out, but he hasn't done anything in wrestling besides like your Legends events, like your StarCasts or your WrestleCons, and then 83 weeks, which I have a very like conspiracy theory.
Which he says is not ending, by the way, because like a lot of people were questioning, like, but he's canceling some of the like live dates.
Yeah, so because like it's one of those things that it was really weird that they re-signed Bruce Pritchard, which they hired them on to do that network show for a while,
Right.
And then all the stuff with StarCast happened where like Shawn Michaels was going to do it, and then found out who StarCast was affiliated
They
with.
pulled like 3 people from StarCast.
Yeah, and since then it's been kind of like a weird relationship. And then Bruce Pritchard gets signed, and then like the podcast for the Something to Wrestle has been like best ofs recently and clip shows, and then now all of a sudden Eric Bischoff is hired, and it's just like it's really weird that you're.
Did Pritchard say though that they were going to continue the show? Like, was there an official announcement? Because they like on the most recent episode like said that
I
the
haven't
show
listened
will
to the most
continue.
recent episode yet, but I'm sure that was probably said. It's just one of those things that it's really weird that they got those two people mainly. Now, see, Shivani, I'm not worried about at all because
Well, he's already working with AEW.
well, no, he's working with MLW.
That's
but
right.
he does Atlanta baseball,
Yeah.
and he won't, or he does, and he also does college football. He won't give up dates for those for wrestling.
Yeah.
because like that's why whenever he does MLW,
That's his
it's-
moneymaker.
Yeah, he'll like do like 4 shows at a time and then not do it. That's what he's doing this time. And then JR, which is the most recent one he's doing, definitely isn't going back to WWE.
Right.
So,
Well, he is legitimately signed with AEW. Isn't
well,
he?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's their
Yeah.
voice, but it's one of those like
And like,
conspiracy
well, and
theory.
also like talent scout and like he's doing stuff behind the scenes too.
Yeah.
I think it's and I get what you're saying with the conspiracy theory, but and a lot of people have been critical of Eric Bischoff being named because the argument is, well, look what he did to TNA, and that's fair. He did nothing to help TNA. He was.
And apparently there was the rumor was that a lot of the people who were at Impact at that time were very surprised and confused by him being hired.
I'm surprised and confused as anybody else because I like you, I would have thought Triple H.
See, and that was
Stephanie
my thing.
McMahon.
It's like I'm not criticizing Eric Bischoff. It's just when you have Triple H right there, who is a proven commodity when you look at NXT,
Right.
and Stephanie, like that seems weird.
My-
Like the breakdown that I've seen, like from various like articles and stuff that are talking about it, is that it wasn't Triple H because he is so focused on NXT.
Like he has a job that he cares about.
Yeah, he already has like this, so he's not going to also then take over like
So-
one of the major weekly shows.
My conspiracy theory with it is that I wondered if maybe they're going to put more time and money and maybe not upgrade, but make it more prevalent NXT. If maybe they know NXT is a good alternative to AEW because a lot of people say the best wrestling is on NXT. You could make the argument that NXT has the best wrestling, that they could make it a bigger brand, and that's why Triple H is staying tied with them because he's going to focus on it. I'm actually glad Eric Bischoff is in charge. I think Bischoff will do a great job, and you have to remember that Bischoff. This is the fear of AEW. Vince, in my head, Vince goes, okay, if I'm going to fight against AEW, who should I recruit? Paul Heyman's the mad genius. He's the one that everyone respects. He's the indie darling. Eric Bischoff is the only guy that almost beat me. So I'm going to bring him in so maybe he can help me beat these guys. And I think, and last thing, I think that Eric Bischoff, because he is older now and smarter and wiser, I think that he is going to be a huge asset to WWE. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I like the headline of to keep wrestling company from dying, hires 2 individuals from dead wrestling companies.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. Like, if you go back and listen to 83 Weeks, like Bischoff will say, like, I had great ideas. I couldn't come up with a match finish to save my life. And it's one of those things like, and that's not the end of the world because like you have people like
Fireworks.
4th
Yeah.
of July.
you like, well, I can't say Malenko anymore, but like you have agents and you have people that can help you with finishes and this, that, and another. And you're in WWE, which is just like an unlimited wealth of knowledge when it comes to stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
also, I think it's going to help, and I swear I'm not trying to be antagonistic, but you don't have people backstage pretty much essentially like bullying him through
No, I agree.
to
You're-
make sure that you have people...
You're talking about the Hulk Hogan aspect, and I agree.
Well,
with you.
Hogan,
Nash, Hall,
yeah,
like any of the Clique, like people like that, you're not going to have those people because from what we can tell, no one has that kind of leverage
Except
aside
Vince.
from maybe Cena.
Yeah.
I'm talking strictly from a wrestler standpoint.
Okay, gotcha.
No one has that kind of pull of, oh, I'm not going to go out there and lose to this guy.
Right.
Like, no one has that sort of that level of creative control.
And the guys that
he doesn't have to worry about now. And especially because, again, at the end of the day, it was Bischoff. He was the one who made the call. Now he's still answering to Vince. And I don't know when it's going to truly take effect. A lot of people seem to think that this Monday Raw was like
Heyman-esque.
clearly that was all Heyman. Everything was Heyman. But then you look at SmackDown, and that was just an episode of SmackDown.
From what I heard is that Bischoff won't take over for another month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time that Bischoff has ever worked in a creative aspect of WWE, right? Am I correct?
I think he was just a character the first
yeah,
time.
he was
I'm
just
sure
a
he was
character.
strictly on screen.
So you have to wonder if you can take Eric Bischoff's ambition and his good ideas, assuming he still has them, if he still has that passion.
Because it's also worth noting, like, there's a lot of people, and I'm not necessarily one of them, but like I think there's credence to the argument that Bischoff was kind of a one-hit wonder.
With the NWO.
Granted, that one hit was the biggest hit in the history of professional wrestling.
Minus Austin, but yeah.
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 But like,
But can
what
you do
else?
it again?
What else can you point at as an Eric Bischoff idea that was like, yeah, no, that is licensed to print money.
The only,
Cruiserweights. Oh, did I steal it? I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I'm sorry.
See,
Please,
but was that
Dalton, go ahead.
And
but like no, like but,
that's a division though. I'm talking story beat.
well, I mean, he was like the very first, like, well, you can make the argument that Heyman was, but Bischoff was the first person that really gave luchas and like Japanese talent in America,
Right.
gave them the first really big spotlight, and that was something that he went to Best of Super Juniors in the 90s and found people like Jericho and Benoit and Liger and people like that. So it wasn't a storyline,
Right.
but like
It was a showcase.
he has an eye for talent that not a lot of people really give him credit for. Now he also had an eye for talent of signing people that probably shouldn't have been signed, like Lanny Poffo, who worked for WCW for 2 whole years and didn't do a single thing, and they never called, but was getting checks from.
Well, that's what I was going to say is if you take Bischoff's ambition and his intelligence that he displayed and the great ideas that he had, and you have to remember, not only was
he's
he
a TV guy, like
he's a
that's
TV guy.
Yeah.
And apparently that is
he
a
made
huge,
a ton of money.
Apparently that's a huge aspect of why they brought him on and put him on SmackDown
Because
is
of the
because
Fox move.
his experience to
Right.
be able to work with the Fox people.
Because he's worked with Jason Hervey, I think is his name, or Harvey, I forget which one it is.
I do not know.
Maybe.
Big TV stuff. He's done a ton of TV stuff.
Yeah, Bischoff has, yeah.
You take that, and now you have him being put in check by a WWE system to where he can't do the things that Eric Bischoff did that put him in a hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, he's older and wiser now. I truly believe that his experience is going to be such a benefit to it. And then on the other side, you have Paul Heyman, who is such a creative force
Right.
that you now have him doing stuff. And again, you have that Vince McMahon power check where if Vince gives them enough room to be themselves but also keeps them roped in to where they don't go over the line, I think it could be fantastic for WWE.
It also could be one of those things that like the Heyman one's weird because like from my knowledge he's in a contract with WWE. Now granted, giving him a different title is a different thing, so I understand why they'd announce that. But like it's a good idea, I guess, to keep Bischoff off of the table
Before he goes to AEW.
before AEW is just like, hey, because again, like Conrad Thompson doesn't work for AEW, but like they're obviously affiliated with each other,
Right.
And it's one of those like it would be like, hey, we need somebody that can run shows. Hey, is Bischoff available? Well, no, he's under contract.
We
with
want someone to be able to work with TNT.
Yeah,
Like if we have
Right.
someone who can, has a history with the network and
Yeah, but does Bischoff have the best history with TNT?
yeah, but he has the we have who is still there that
That's there at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ted, I'm
if
not trying to
TNT
be offensive. Ted Turner's still alive, right?
yeah.
because if TNT
I don't think he has any power, but
if TNT is willing to go back to wrestling, I mean,
go back to the devil you know.
yeah,
I think it's a great signing for WWE. I can't wait to see it. Now, some of the stuff from Raw, from what I understand, it had Heyman's fingerprints on it, but it wasn't all Heyman.
See, and
and
that's
you
what
can tell because there's a lot of stuff on there that was still garbage.
my tinfoil conspiracy hat is that this is the episode of Raw that Vince puts out that makes you think Heyman's in charge. This is what he thinks a Heyman show would be.
Right.
You start things off with a giant explosion and Corey Graves actually saying "Holy shit" for the first time uncensored on Raw.
Lots of cursing on the show.
And Kofi giving Joe the middle finger.
Right.
But the
Me and my bitch versus you and yours.
and it's that right there is the most Vince McMahon story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Especially like if we just want to go into it, like the story that's not really like on the list, but we can mention is Mike and Maria have signed new contracts, like a 5-year deal, something like that. And the rumor is they did not tell WWE that she was pregnant until after they signed those contracts.
Oh, That is some old school brother shit right
That's
there.
shady.
So, and then
Oh no, I love it.
and as a
that's
retaliation,
genius.
like I think it was Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter that was like, I have never seen a single one night burial of a character
Like
we
Mike
did
Kanellis?
with Mike Kanellis, and that is the most Vince McMahon shit we have ever heard.
Yeah.
And even if it's not, let's assume. Thank you,
One
Broadway.
second, yeah.
Like plenty of sirens.
I mean, it's 4th of July week.
Yeah, no,
That's going to happen at least 2 more times in this next hour.
To me, it's very much like it's not a good. If this is a Heyman show, which again, we still get the bullshit no wrestling during the commercial breaks. We're still getting and then
Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin was heavily featured. We'll get there. Well, not nearly as heavily featured
No.
as
It was
before.
less, yeah.
But the whole like the Mike Kanellis thing, some people are like, oh, that's such a Heyman thing. It's like that was a '90s Heyman thing. I genuinely hope that's not a 2019 Heyman thing because
Right.
if it is, woof.
Well, look at 2002 Heyman with SmackDown because he wrote that show.
Yeah.
Or ECW.
You're talking about 2006?
Yeah, just when
Oh,
he took over
He
the
didn't
ECW.
have as much to do with that though.
About to say, and not he had a lot to do with it up until December to Dismember.
Yeah.
and they said no, Punk's not winning the belt. And then he was like, birds.
Double birds.
But like 2002 SmackDown, which was only 3 years removed from ECW, that stuff was great. And I don't remember like there were some hokey characters, but I don't remember really. Oh nope, take it back.
Who?
I just remember Don Marie, Tori Wilson, and Tori Wilson's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Poor
Yep.
Al.
No,
Poor
no.
Al.
I was gonna defend him, and then I remembered that.
Not everybody is perfect, but you definitely need to, like something has to change within WWE.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
It's
try
a
to
sinking
give,
ship
I try
right
to give.
now.
I see.
I know that's not a sinking
I won't
ship.
go
It's
that
just
far, but like
I say it's a sinking ship, but I say the sinking is so slow. This is like a years down the line thing. It's not like they're like drowning right now. But when you look at like the attendance, when you look at the buzz AEW has created, when you look at all of the things together and how nervous they are,
TV ratings,
the
stuff
TV,
like that.
it feels like a sinking ship. Now it could be turned around, and I think they're making moves for that.
Because
But
like I was trying to give
will
them
it work?
I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt when they did the whole like, okay, we hear you, like you were not happy with the product and we're going to change things.
And then they changed it again.
I feel like that's not like I feel like that we reached past the point of like they tried it and it didn't work. Like I thought it was going to be a much longer term thing, but like the changes that we saw were minuscule.
They were minuscule and very quick to go back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Like almost immediately. And it wasn't because I think it was one of those it's that when your boyfriend does something stupid and brings you flowers and apologizes and you go, okay, never again, baby. And then a week later he does the same thing. It was that, except this time she like got her shit and moved out, and he came home and he just followed her and was like, no, seriously, this time I'm for real. Look, Paul Heyman. I
Yeah.
brought Paul Heyman home with me.
Yo,
I wrote you a nice note.
This time for real.
You like Paulie? You like Paulie, right?
Yeah. So it remains to be seen whether or not this works or not, but at least they're doing something.
And it also very much depends on just how much control they're actually going to let them have.
Yes.
Because again, with ECW, you are not making CM Punk champion. Okay, is there going to be that level of a turning point again with Heyman?
Because we don't know how these people have grown up in the last.
Yeah, and again, we don't-
because like Bischoff hasn't been in charge of a company since like '99, so we're legit talking
Right.
20 years
And
ago.
we haven't seen him in any sort of like truly, well, we have, but like the creative role that he had. But again, with that dark shadow of Hogan, no, sign the Nasty Boys.
yeah.
Sign the Nasty Boys in the 2000s.
He shows Eric Bischoff a video from like
Do it, brother.
1987. Is like, I mean, look how popular they were. Lightning can strike again.
They're over, brother.
Have Val Venus beat Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
He's over, brother.
So you won't have that influence, and you don't have Paul Heyman's shady side, where because everyone loves Heyman.
The business side.
Yeah, because everyone loves Paul Heyman, but you have to remember there were a lot of people who hated Paul Heyman when they worked for him.
Don't sign their checks,
Yeah, he
brother.
doesn't
I
have to
can't
worry
do
about-
Paul Heyman's voice.
He doesn't have to worry about bouncing the checks or anything like
so
that.
we could be looking at a whole different thing, and I think this is a great shots fired against AEW. But more importantly, I think this could be good for the wrestling fans who want options. Because
Well, yeah, but it's one of those like if they're doing this strictly to spite AEW, like they should. It's the whole thing. You need to focus on your own shit before you
see,
start taking shots at another.
I don't think it's them trying to spite AEW. I think it's them being so nervous by AEW's presence that they have no choice but to try something different.
Again, I honestly like they are aware of AEW, obviously, but I don't think they're taking them as a serious threat yet.
I think at this point we at least have confirmation that it's on the radar, and Vince.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
on the
Vince
radar.
Maybe it's a combination of AEW plus those pictures from Raw, where half the arena was, well, more than half the arena was empty
I've been seeing that shit for
for years.
years now.
But I think once you combine all of them, it's oh shit, maybe we need to do something.
I think it's literally they are just worried about their own shows. I don't think it's a.
I think they can't be worried about their own shows without at least recognizing the looming presence of AEW.
The elephant in the
that's
room.
fair.
With
yeah.
like a TNT, with especially that they've announced they are going to TNT.
The
If they
TV
still
deals, I think,
didn't have
what
a
got
TV
them.
deal,
Vince is having like flashbacks. Like, oh no, damn it!
yeah.
Tony Khan called up Vince and said,
'Cause-
"I'm getting in the wrestling business, bro."
because there's too much.
Vince said, "Congratulations."
Because like I think that like I think there you could make the argument that no, it's not entirely based around AEW that they're making these moves. I think they are looking at, you know, like you said earlier, the television, the TV attendance, the ratings, things like that, and especially with the added fresh pressure of Fox,
Right.
like, hey, we're giving you $1 billion, and this is what you're bringing us.
Yeah.
You got them bringing them down your neck. Yeah, then like they have to be making these moves, but I think AEW is a factor in that, and I think we're seeing enough moves and changes, especially, you know, they're broadcasting the Evolve show.
Yeah.
That's the same night as
Fighter Fest.
Fight for the
Fight
Fallen.
for the Fallen. Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Fighter Fest was the one on
That's
Saturday.
right. That's right. Yeah.
I swear, if I see people streaming that show for free.
You mean the
It's
charity
already
show?
free.
Oh, is Fight for Fallen also going to be
I'm
free?
pretty sure they said it was.
Because like I'm cool with paying for this show.
So my big question with this is, how long do they last?
Who?
Because Bischoff and Heyman, and I don't mean that in a they do a bad job thing, but like you said with Heyman earlier about we're not going to push Paul.
Until something happens and they get into an argument with
Because
Vince.
Heyman doesn't need
Heyman for sure, that'll be the
Heyman
case.
doesn't need WWE. Well, to be fair, Eric doesn't need to be.
Real quick.
Neither of them need WWE.
Real quick, wasn't Heyman's issue with Stephanie?
What time?
Fair, good question. I don't know. I thought
I'm not being a dick,
I
I'm
thought
just-
that
I'm-
was. I thought that was a clash.
At
some point,
the big one that like
creatively.
Heyman hasn't run a show since 2006 ECW,
Mm-hmm.
and it was I want to say it was Michael Hayes and Vince McMahon were the ones that were just like, no, Lashley,
Mm-hmm.
and then Heyman was like, all right, bye, Felicia.
I still remember that promo that started ECW where it was Heyman with like the two Riot Guard members, and he just
The
like
Basham brothers.
yeah, and he just cuts a quick promo and just walks away, and that was it. That was it for Paul Heyman. He was gone. It was so surreal. I worry that they'll get sick of if Vince puts the pressure on him and wants the show to still go his way. If they bring these two guys in, these two titans in the professional wrestling world, because they are titans in history. They are huge names. If he brings them in only to control them and micromanage them to death, they're not going to stand for it. They're going to leave.
Also, just real quick, yes, Fight for the Fallen will be free.
Oh, okay, well
in America and Canada, it's going to be the same thing as Fighter Fest.
Is
Okay,
it Bleacher
good.
Report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, we're gonna get into it, but it worked well for me.
All right, so that is what we know right now with Heyman and Bischoff. We'll see where this goes because
I wish they would have given us like a hard start date, because apparently like the backstage rumor, or not, wasn't a rumor, but like the backstage reports are Heyman was next to Vince and Gorilla pretty much all of Monday. So I mean, it could have been a thing that he was already like there.
What scares me,
it just feels like it's that like what Dan Harmon talks about with Community season 4 of, okay, you fired me, but you hire my friend to do essentially what they think an impression of me is.
it's like when Joey
that's
Styles cut that promo saying like, if you wanted JR, you shouldn't have fired JR. You know.
So
What if this is the worst case scenario that was a Heyman show and this is how it's going to be?
to be.
Like
I don't
this
think
is the
that's-
Heyman
I don't
Vince
think
era.
that's worst case scenario, because he's
Well, it's better than it has been.
because he's still having to use like, unless they did hey, on screen, this is the only time you will see me in the role other than the, you know, Lesnar advocate. This is a hard reboot. Everything's off the table now. We are starting from scratch. They were never going to do that.
No, they can't,
So
because
they-
you know what that would be?
Admitting
WCW.
defeat. That would be an admitting defeat.
That was
Just-
when WCW legitimately rebooted and said, "All right, new champions,
Yep.
and this is going to be a new era." And that was the beginning of the end. Well, okay,
No.
That was
That
like
was just-
8 chapters into the end.
That
but
was like
still.
the second to the last note of the
Yeah.
coffin.
But but like, no, because there's already these like storylines in place, and you can't just totally reshape the ship.
Seth and
Right.
Becky aren't dating anymore.
we broke them up.
Yeah, they need to.
We
at
shipped
this
them.
Point.
We shipped
That
them away.
Promo was atrocious.
Heyman.
Huh.
they're gonna make me hate Becky Lynch.
Hey, speaking of Seth Rollins, I already kind of do. I'm going to be honest. All the goodwill they have for me with Becky Lynch and how they made her she made herself this larger than life thing. When they embraced it and started presenting her as it and shoving it down my throat, it felt like the Fandango dance kind of, where it's like when it was organic, it was cool. But now that you were like really pushing it and shoving it down my throat, it feels less cool.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. Like they're gonna make me hate Rollins. They're gonna make me hate Lynch. I'm gonna be like, you're Roman Reigns, two of my favorite people.
Yeah, they're going to make me like Baron Corbin. Just
I've always
because.
liked Baron Corbin, in fairness.
Well, so do
Liar.
women apparently.
No, whenever I didn't like Corbin, it was strictly the whole like he ruined Nakamura's entrance at Money in the Bank.
That was pretty cool though. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally
yeah, no,
cool.
I know it was a work, but like it was just one of those things where it was just like
Hey,
that was my first time getting to see it live.
Speaking of Seth Rollins, I didn't get to talk about it last week. You guys did. Seth Rollins, he got in a little tiff with Will Ospreay and 90 other wrestlers.
And he reneged
On
all of
Twitter.
it this week.
What's that?
He reneged all of it from last week.
He did.
Kinda.
Yeah, he basically sent out a tweet saying, no more garbage posts. It's beneath me, basically. And he apologized to Will Ospreay specifically and
Yeah.
said, when I made that comment about the bank
bank
accounts, it was not in line with my values, and I apologize. And Will Ospreay replied and said, don't worry about it.
Just buy me lunch or something like
Yeah,
that.
Buy
buy
me
me-
Nando's.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I respect you. I've always respected you, and everything seems to be fine. And that's cool. I'm glad that went that way.
Which Ospreay's response made it like that interaction very much made it sound like Rollins was like going to war. Like he was hitting hard, and Ospreay thought he was just like dicking around,
yeah.
of just like, oh no, it's just fun back and forth. And then he reads that and he's like, oh,
Was he
did
pissed?
Did he mean that? Like,
What did I do to piss off Tyler Black?
yes.
I like someone's.
Which is it's good that it finally got like it's finally done and settled because
Yeah, 'cause it was
dear
silly.
Lord, that was the most exhausting
it was
week
silly.
of our
Again,
life.
I don't follow Seth Rollins. I saw every single one of those fucking tweets
Yeah.
because of the Twitter algorithm. Like, hey, this person liked something.
You know who shouldn't have jumped into it? Baron Corbin.
Anybody?
Because he got shut down very quickly when he no one mentioned him, and then he jumped into he's like, I don't know who you are, Will Ospreay, I just wanted to jump in. I've wrestled more on Raw than you've wrestled this year. And Will Ospreay's reply was like, no wonder Raw sucks now. And Baron, you could just see him like tip his hat, he went back into the bush.
He homered into the bush. Big Banter Baron is always up for a good time.
So it was good. It's good that they settled this. My favorite comment, it's crass and whatever, but someone said, well, it's cool now. We've seen Seth Rollins' dick on the internet. Now we've seen his ass too.
Oh,
That's good.
So
That's
that's
good
over.
shit.
Thank God. Eric Young, one of my personal favorites, by the way. Eric Young,
Yep.
love Eric Young. Now working as a producer for 205 Live. Is he still wrestling, or is this strictly a producer role?
For the 24/7 championship.
yeah, he shows up for the 24/7 championship, and he was going to be the ref until Seth Rollins beat him with the chairs again. So it bums me out. On the one hand, I think he will do great at 205 Live in that
Yeah.
role. On the other hand, like
I expected so much from
Eric
him.
Young, I say this about Christopher Daniels a lot, but I think Eric Young might deserve it more. One of the most underrated, unappreciated professional wrestlers in history.
100% agree.
Everything that they gave him in TNA was he turned to gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they gave him good stuff to begin with, oh my God, he knocked it out of the park.
As opposed to the parts where he would like walk out, the explosion would happen. He would like
I
a heart
loved-
attack.
I
love
loved that.
That was Showtime, Eric Young.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome. Team Canada, that was amazing. Because he was great as comedy, he was great as like to me, I referred to him as TNA's Jericho. Because he could be the goofy, funny guy. He could be the serious, like, dangerous heel. He could be like, he could wear so many different hats.
Yeah.
And do them all phenomenally. And Sanity, I didn't super enjoy, but like, they very much never got a fair shake on the main roster.
They did not. Well, they didn't really get a super fair shake on NXT. Like they were just kind of
No,
there.
they did. Like,
They were featured on
and they
NXT.
were like,
But they never-
tag champions. They had that War Games match.
But I feel like they never gave them any context for why they are what they are. You know?
oh yeah, we never really got a true explanation other than just like they're anarchists.
But
essentially.
like Alexander Wolf took care of that for me because he just looks the way he does. So I was like, oh, okay, I understand this. Speaking of NXT, sorry, we have Shane Strickland's first NXT televised match tonight.
Yep.
What's
As
his
part of-
name?
Isaiah Scott.
There you go.
As one of the
Oh Jesus, that's gonna be a hard one.
as one of the up and comer tournaments. Or
The
whatever.
Breakthrough or whatever.
Breakthrough, yeah.
What's Shane Strickland's name?
Isaiah Scott.
I'm gonna make you say it till
He's facing
Say it.
Trevor Lee,
I
What's
like
your-
Kevin Steen's on
I think you mean
NXT.
Corey Grimes.
Cameron Grimes.
Cameron Grimes.
Corey Grimes.
I knew it was a C.
Yeah.
Did you see Kevin Steen's match last night? Kevin Owens.
No.
At least Kevin.
I
Owens
watched the
think-
reruns of Ladder War. Generico and Steve.
You really don't care about people's necks, do you?
Can I also say that Eric Young had one of the most unique voices?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
especially at the end.
It was just that gravelly. Like to come out of him, it looked so odd.
Yeah.
Well, it's
You know?
because his voice was so like he very much grew up in front of camera, like as a wrestler.
Yeah, and smoked 50 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yeah,
Clearly.
because he like his voice whenever he was like Showtime Eric Young was substantially different.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a little convinced that it's not the same person.
Like the Undertaker, they replaced him.
Yeah.
because the Undertaker actually lives in St. Louis. My friend knows him. He lives next to him. The first Undertaker.
Yeah, the real
Yeah,
one.
the real one.
He'll show up to your birthday party for 50
Yeah,
bucks.
they faked it. It's like they faked the moon landing.
Yeah, exactly.
Haters gonna say it's fake.
but he's super talented. He's super smart.
Yeah.
And, like I'm excited to see like what can.
There's a lot of things to complain about TNA in that era, and he wasn't one of them.
No, he was always
well,
fantastic.
he was in the sense that why aren't you doing more with him?
Yeah.
WrestleMania 30 brought me one of my favorite things in Impact because they finally gave the belt to.
Because they totally
Daniel
tried
Bryan
to.
thing.
Yeah. Ooh.
He was.
But he had the belt. That's all that mattered to me.
He was one of my two favorite. When people think of like their favorite wrestlers from TNA, a lot of people will go to Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, which is great because they are fantastic. But my two favorites were always Eric Young and Chris Sabin. They were literally my two favorite from Impact. When Eric Young showed up in WWE, I was super happy. Sad they didn't do much with him. I liked his initial run where he just kind of came in and was just Eric Young. I thought that was cool. Sanity didn't really do anything for me. The fact that Sabin never signed with WWE. I know they would have never done him justice, but God, I love me some Chris Sabin. Is he still in Ring of Honor? What's he doing?
He's
He
hurt.
might be retired.
No, he's hurt.
no, because Alex Shelley just came back. I'm
Alex
thinking of Alex
Shelley.
Shelley. Alex Shelley, whatever. But yeah, no, you're
Saban,
right.
I think though should be coming back. Well, no, I think he had it was like a 7 or 9 month leg injury again.
And I just got because somebody texted me like Shelley's back, and I'm like that,
That's surprising.
and maybe not the best choice, but that's to each his own.
Did
Whatever,
he
Motor City Machine
retire?
Guns.
Did he retire due to injury or did he just retire?
I think he retired due to a multiple of injuries.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Bang bang. Motor City.
Point at your palm.
Weren't
Point
they-
at your palm.
All right, and again, I know
I had him.
I'm off track here, but weren't they originally called, or they called them one point the Murder City Machine Guns?
Yeah,
Maybe.
they were Murder City Machine Guns, and then they switched it when they went to TNA.
Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to clarify on that. Hey, speaking of Impact, and I love this, D'Lo Brown signs with Impact. I love D'Lo Brown, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, he's he as a producer,
Which is fine.
well,
He's
yeah.
a good mind for the business, and he's a little older now.
and
you know?
he's been working with them for a while now. It's
Yeah.
just, it looks like it's an official like long-term deal because they do a thing kind of similar to NXT. It seems like where
They just bring
have
people in.
they have people kind of rotating in and out. In
But they've
those
been
roles.
bringing in D'Lo Brown since like 2012.
Yeah,
Because D'Lo Brown is always solid. Like
Yeah.
he is not he's like, to me, he's a lot like Shelton Benjamin or other really
Anybody
good
from
wrestlers.
he's like anybody from the Attitude Era, which is where he came from, where it's just like
Like
they were
Billy
always,
Gunn and
they
guys
were
like that,
always
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
And if they were regularly highlighted because they figured out how to make a whole roster work.
And D'Lo especially, like everything about D'Lo, his music, his gimmick, the head waving. I mean,
Jesus Christ,
D'Lo was incredible. Him and Mark Henry was one of my just favorite. That Nation of Domination was one of my favorite squads.
I've always loved D'Lo Brown.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And it saddens me that his career will always have that black eye
Yep.
of what happened to Draws. Purely accidental, but it's always going to be there.
I was listening, and I don't think it was a newer episode by any stretch because I'm back listening to like Pritchard stuff now.
Yeah.
But he was talking about, like, he was never really the same, like, in ring after that happened.
He had
which
to be
is-
shaky.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, because it's one of those, like, you hurt somebody a little bit, and you're like, God, but you paralyze a dude. Like,
Right.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got a great mind for the business. D'Lo Brown's always been incredible. You remember D'Lo Brown?
Pretty moonsault.
He has the best theme song in wrestling history.
Messing with the real deal now?
I had one of the old like Jax figures of him, and I would always try to I'm pretty sure I almost popped off the head because I would try to make the head bob.
head-
It just
So-
that articulation was not there.
Whenever I played the old wrestling games, No Mercy especially, I would always, and in SmackDowns, I would always steal his leg drop where he does the point and then shake his head and then leg drop, and I might steal that in wrestling just in general.
Also in
Because
the
I'm not for it.
those
like
N60
this.
those N64 games where the animation was so nuts.
Yeah.
It legitimately looked like it was just glitching because it was just
Because they were so animated, because they were all like polygonal and stuff. They
Right.
didn't do motion capture. It was all like hand drawn stuff. So yeah, the movement was so fluid back then. You couldn't beat it. Of course, their hands didn't have individual fingers.
Right.
They just had this,
we didn't need to. Crab people.
and you would block attacks by pushing
Face
your
like
chest
crab.
out,
Yeah.
which is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
His elite.
If Cody
bumped me
Rhodes
out.
had just pushed his chest out, he would not be in the situation he's in.
I'm waiting for the Orange Cassidy for him to bust out the NWO
And it not
he
hurt
comes
him.
out in the WCW NWO Revenge shirt.
Yeah.
And then that's how he blocks.
Oh,
the
he
strikes.
would.
It's
He
just-
would. No, he would not let contact happen like that. That's what he doesn't like.
Well, he would slow time, probably. I don't know. I don't know how it works with him. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to read what Asa wrote. A-Kid, Jonathan Gresham, and Artemis Spencer. Asa, take it away.
I did not put the second half of that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, did they also get signed to Impact?
Take it away.
A-Kid, Jonathan Gresham, and
Artemis Spencer?
Artemis Spencer are the first three announced competitors for this year's BOLA tournament, the
okay.
Battle of Los Angeles PWG.
Which right now, if that means I have to pick somebody, I'm going with Jonathan Gresham.
Allie, do you remember what BOLA is? The Battle of Los Angeles?
Yes, it is.
The PWG tournament every year.
Yeah.
Based on the famous incident where a UFO was spotted over Los Angeles and the military fired like 1,000 million rounds
at a weather balloon and didn't hit it.
Couldn't hit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. It's just a weather balloon. No, I'll tell you what I'm more concerned about is that the military couldn't hit a goddamn weather balloon. And you're going to go to war? No, forget that. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, that's super cool. Like the Battle of Los Angeles is always one of the that's where a lot of match of the year contenders and or winners.
Did Marco ever wrestle Bola?
He wasn't in the tournament, but he wrestled the first night.
Okay.
That's
It was
also-
him versus Trevor Lee.
I think you mean
Where he did
Corey
the-
Grimes.
He did the amazing. I'm old enough. What was it? I'm old enough to buy beer,
I'm
smoke
old enough
weed.
to fuck your mom.
Yeah, it was like I'm old enough to buy beer. I'm old enough to smoke weed. I'm old enough to fuck your mom. And it was
Somewhere Mama Stunt's ears burned.
the star. They did cards for everybody involved with All In.
Oh, we know.
That wasn't locked. I'm gonna go take care of that.
I thought we did lock that.
But
Allie,
no,
what were you going to say?
I was gonna say that's where the Foo Fighters came from.
That's true.
but the
Dave
Bola
Grohl's
this
from Los Angeles.
Bola this year, Thursday, September 19th, Friday, September 20th, and Sunday, September 22nd. It's a 3-night tournament, but they are not doing. Usually, it's from Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
But the Saturday show, the venue has another event booked that night, so they're
Hopefully it's a quilt show. That's what we get around here. Hey, Impact Wrestling in talks with Access TV, which is good because it's anything's better than where they are.
Yeah. Which
They might be coming soon to, I was going to say the Outdoor Channel, but weren't they actually on the Outdoor Channel?
no, it was like the outdoor channels, like
Third sub.
third, yeah,
subreddit.
the third string
Yeah.
replacement. It's great. I wish the best for Impact,
Same.
but selfishly, I'm a little concerned if they get a new TV deal, if that means they get taken off of Twitch.
Yeah.
Because I love that they're on Twitch. It makes it so much easier for me to keep up with because I don't have cable or anything. I do got Twitch. And
But do you have Twitch Prime?
I don't.
I
But I
do.
had Amazon. If I had Amazon Prime, I would have Twitch Prime.
So Allie has Twitch Prime then.
I have Twitch Prime too.
So
yeah.
you can give that
Yeah.
Twitch
Oh.
Prime. Doesn't cost you anything. Pick your favorite streamer. I recommend Kind of Fun because they need it. And tell them I sent it. I don't know.
They know
you.
him.
They know
They
you.
know
yeah.
me.
Jesus,
No,
that was good.
I have pictures. They know me. That was a weird echo. But yeah, so I don't know how that would affect their Twitch deal or their deal with their streaming service.
Yeah.
Impact Plus. I don't remember the name of it. I don't know. It's
Dalton?
fine.
You're
I
the
have
man.
I have way too many streaming services for wrestling right
You
now.
really do.
I'm
you
sitting
really
at
do.
3.
And what I don't understand is the only one that you need is just to be subscribed to Superhuman, because that's the only wrestling you'll ever need to watch.
Whoop whoop. He doesn't land on anybody. though,
Global
does
Wrestling Network.
F
Dear
this.
Lord.
That's what it
F
was.
this.
I could not.
FSS.
Sleep with you, US MD.
Dear Lord.
That's Sex House, by the way.
Yeah.
I need to watch this.
Yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, I highly recommend going and watching Sex House on the Onion Network. It has nothing to do with
I was
wrestling,
about to say, I was like,
No.
but it's hilarious. Well, that's it for news. Wow, I'm gonna check the news sources real quick, make sure nothing terrible's happened in
In
the
the
few
last
seconds
48
that we've been
minutes.
doing this show. Because right now it is 9 p.m. in the year of our Lord.
No,
Wednesday.
this was a very light news week aside from the Heyman Bischoff thing. That
Lucha
was
Libre icon Pero Aguayo passed away at age 73.
oh wow.
That just happened. So there's something.
like, wait, like how long ago? When was that posted?
It's the most recent one. So this was posted. Doesn't give me a time, just a day.
Was it posted today?
It's posted today. Literally, it's the most recent one.
Oh well, I don't like that we.
CMLL just posted about it at 7:40.
The way you were saying is
literally
like-
about an hour ago.
The way you were saying, I was like, you mean Paraguayer Jr., who died like 2 years ago or a couple years ago?
Oh no, I'm not like the guys on my Facebook who post a message that says
From
like
20
Yeah.
Ric Flair is brain dead.
yeah, no,
declared brain dead.
no. I'm talking about the ones that will post like, "Oh man, so sad about this," and it's like
David Bowie died.
Prince dies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a few years ago, bro. Oh, I didn't check. That's the problem. You don't check your news sources before you post them.
Or dates.
Henry Winkler is not dead, and he is not a Republican sympathizer
No, he is not.
at all.
He is-
Check your facts, people.
He is a beacon of wholesomeness. Except for Nick Scarpino. Unless you ask Nick Scarpino, who was supposed to host his panel at Planet Comic-Con, and he was like, "Oh, I don't use a moderator." And just proceeded to walk on stage and do a one-man show.
I like that.
All right, let's talk about the weekend review. We got Monday Night Raw up first. This was the first Raw possibly under the Dalton. What are you looking at?
Oh, I saw a flashing light and I thought it was an ambulance.
Hopefully it's fireworks.
No, it's fireworks.
No, because then an ambulance went by. They didn't have like
okay.
the red and white, but they like flashed like their blinker.
Monday Night Raw. So I watched highlights of it. I think we did tune into it briefly, but I don't remember what we saw.
I watched up until 9, fell asleep, and then I caught the rest. Then Tuesday morning.
We saw the part.
That was lightning.
That was thunder because there's a pretty big storm.
Holy shit, that was close
there's,
too.
Yeah, there's a pretty solid storm moving its way through.
We tuned in and saw the Mike and Maria
Kanellis, yeah.
Yeah, we saw that.
You want to just start with that?
I mean, we can.
Let's just start with it.
Like, I'm just gonna say really quick, I did not like this week's episode
Of Raw?
at all.
If
There was one thing I liked.
Oh, can I guess?
Yeah.
Was it Lashley Strowman? Because
No.
I heard that was good.
No, I didn't.
Was
like that.
it?
It was
Drake Maverick and R-Truth.
No.
Because let's be honest. All right.
That's been entertaining. My favorite thing was
Yeah,
AJ.
it really has been.
Yeah, it was AJ and Ricochet. Like,
Oh, Jay O'Shea,
just having.
Rick O'Jay.
I hate you.
The match or the
Angle.
The backstage
pre-match?
promo.
Okay.
Like, well, and the into the match was good too. I just really liked the whole. I didn't like Carl Anderson putting up his hot Asian wife. That was gross.
Especially for
Welcome
AJ
to the Heyman era.
especially for AJ to accept it after like
The
so much of
whole-
his character has been like what a family man he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a heel now.
But
so.
I did like the whole
But he
like
wasn't.
goes up to Ricochet, slaps him, and then Ricochet not being a bitch, he just
All right.
right back.
Here we go. Let's go.
I loved that, but that was literally the only part of a 3-hour show that I enjoyed.
See, from what I understand, there were a lot of good parts, a lot of bad parts, but there was more good parts than bad. And if you listen to old ECW wrestlers, it was the best show they've ever seen. So many of them were just like, "Yeah, Heyman,
Raw's
yeah.
back.
Raw's back, baby."
So who's trying to become a backstage?
It's that
agent at
confirmation bias of like, oh, this is the show. Vince may not be in charge. Everything's wonderful. Which, to be fair, like from what I saw, I think it was an above average Raw from what we've gotten over the last. Like there wasn't as
But the
big
bar was so low.
exactly. Which again doesn't. If that was a Heyman show, that doesn't inspire the level of confidence that I would personally
Right.
like. And again, it's his first show back. Like if it is like this is his first show,
You gotta find
he's
your groove.
still having to use everything that's already been laid out like for the previous, weeks and months.
You're
So-
DMing a game that's been in rotation for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's Gearbox when they put out Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we had to work with this.
This
What
is
did you expect?
Yeah, this is what we were handed, and now we
The
have
old
to.
the old Justin Smart.
So I was really surprised. I know we said we hated the Mike and Maria Kanellis thing, and I also wasn't a huge fan of it. If it gives Mike Kanellis something to do, cool, because it was weird to see him just suddenly in a prominent position on
Off
Raw.
of 205 Live, yeah, instead of being because he's on the 205 Live roster technically.
Yeah.
But what I did love, and I forgot, and I said this a couple days ago, is I forgot how great Maria Kanellis is.
Yes.
Like, she is so good on the mic, and that mic work she had there was above and beyond any other female on the roster right now. I'll say it. I'll say that. I can't think of a better
I'll give you that.
women's promo than what I heard on
She
Monday.
was
Becky Lynch at her best can
really good.
be better, but what she's been having to work with is
Right.
not her best. That promo that her and Seth Rollins did backstage was cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like for a couple, they have no chemistry together in that scripted promo environment.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
They can't play off their natural, which I really hope that's something Paul Heyman can work with, is letting people be themselves
or
more.
just let them like be their own separate individuals once this terrible storyline is over.
Instead of just putting them together like Edge and Lita, or
Yeah.
even though they weren't even really dating. They had that live sex show.
It was
They were dating then.
No, I think
Edge and Lita?
I thought they just had the affair, and that
no, they were
was-
together.
They were together
yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Poor Matt Hardy.
I'm pretty sure they were.
Ah,
it's
he's
fine.
doing
No,
fine.
he was fired. It's fine. He didn't have to be around for it. The show kicked off with that Strowman Lesnar Falls Count Anywhere match. I think is what it was supposed to be.
Nope.
Last Man Standing.
No, you said Lesnar.
Lashley.
There you go.
Lashley
I just
Strowman.
wanted to make that.
It was
No, I missed that though.
It was a false count anywhere, I think.
Was what it was supposed to be?
Yeah.
I think.
Or it was
but
a street fight, one of the two.
What was really
Oh.
weird? So they did that huge spot where they went through the whatever
the screen?
Yeah.
and I thought it was really weird. I never understood why they packed so many putties into that. Because when they hit, there
Because all
were
of
so
the
many sparks.
That was a kayfabe news headline of like.
Was it really?
Local electrician confused at the
Okay.
level of explosions coming out of the screen.
Well, because so like there was people being like, "Oh, that was real," and I'm like, "No, that's not how."
That's how electronics work.
I was like, I literally like, I'm a part of a lot of really dumb Facebook groups.
Apparently.
Yeah, because like I was like, I literally be like, they literally had the camera right on them, like
Right.
after, and then but then they
You saw
retconned
the
it.
gun shoot the like.
Yeah, I was just like, you guys are morons. Like
It's like when they shoot the gas tank and it blows up like a goddamn nuclear explosion.
Mythbusters taught me that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Even It's Always Sunny broke that one.
And then they had to do the thing where like Seth Rollins, like at the beginning, they're like, well, first off, I want to say, get well soon. Our thoughts and prayers are with Lashley and Strowman. Like they were putting it over like it was a huge. Like,
they did their thing where they go into their quiet voice.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
But the other wrestlers had to like bring it up, and it was like, why? Especially because the set's already fixed. So
yeah.
Apparently, it's not that big of an electrical
But
nightmare.
at least it did one good thing in that making Lashley look like a monster.
it
again.
finally did something for that story, other than Lashley's already lost 1,000,000 times, and now they did a tug of war bullshit.
And I loved. I don't know if it was after the show or if it was maybe exclusive on WWE.com or something. But Lashley said he's not done with Strowman. He's going to put him in the morgue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's little things like that is really good. Like it just shows that like I hate this.
I'm not going to put him in the hospital. I'm going to put him in the morgue.
Yeah, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
Like that's how much I hate him. Like it's amazing what a little seriousness can do for wrestling.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be tug of wars and comedy spots and giving birth to hands.
Yeah.
Which did happen on Raw, Alley.
I know.
Good. I just remembered that the hand grew up and came back.
Yeah, the 20th anniversary.
Oh my god.
All right, it was dumb, but I really liked it.
Continuity, finally.
Yeah, they finally.
But that's where they decide to stick.
Oh, anyway, go on.
Other things of note: Street Profits were debuted backstage. Why?
The AEW
Fucking
Tag
why?
Champs?
Why? NXT Tag Champs.
Oh, but
We
did
already-
you see the WWE
Oh
screw
yeah,
up?
where they accidentally put
AEW?
instead of R, like ARE.
Put
they
AEW in
autocorrected to
caps.
AEW in all caps. Yeah.
AEW Tag Champs.
No, it was R the Tag Champs.
Oh, so
it was like
AEW the Tag
AEW
Champs?
the Tag Champs. Yeah.
And people are like, that's not a Freudian slip. I mean,
Whoops.
Some motherfuckers autocorrect.
that was an
went,
autocorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why though? You already moved the Viking Raiders up, stripped them of the tag titles,
Stripped
and then
them of their
proceeded-
dignity.
and then proceeded to do nothing with
Right.
them other than change their tattoo to eat.
AOP.
No, I mean just like they at least weren't the tag champions at the time when they got called up. Were
True.
they? I don't think they
No,
were.
I think they had lost it.
We're at 2.
Oh, something bad's going on out there. Like, I'm hearing sirens, explosions.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny? This is like a horror movie. If the end of the world was literally happening while we're filming a
We're just
podcast.
recording the
You're
podcast.
fucking welcome, fans.
He's toned it
No,
down
they're
a
already
little bit.
they're already zombies.
That's
Yeah,
why they like
they've
this
already
show.
turned. They've already turned. This is the last bastion, the last broadcast of humanity.
The last podcast. Oh, that's what I'm going to do.
On the left.
Oh my god, we need to make a movie.
The last
No, we don't.
podcast?
Guys, we need to make a movie.
Anyway,
Not that one.
so
Turtle
the Street
Dicks?
Profits just won the tag titles to replace the vacated tag titles.
Yeah.
By
And now
who?
you're calling them up. Why? Freaking why?
It's a weird call.
I feel like this.
would- 'cause,
I'm
like-
hoping this is a Heyman thing. That Heyman said, "I like them. I want them up here. I'm going to do things with them."
Apparently, it's because they're looking for. They are worried about losing the teenage demographic.
Same reason I heard they were pushing Ricochet so much. Yeah,
because Heyman's real high on Ricochet, and
Yeah.
he thinks that he can appeal to the.
which good. You should be high on Ricochet.
Yeah, because you
Ricochet is a once in a lifetime talent.
because you have two eyes. I love that. I like this. The idea of the club coming back together. One, get a different name. Two, it would mean more if they didn't already do it with Cena 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
But maybe this will be a vicious. More.
this is what it should be.
This is what it should have been the whole
This-
time.
yeah,
But I
so-
agree. The club is such a stupid name. I've always hated it. You can't call it Bullet Club. I get it.
Someone pitched Bulletproof.
That's a cool name.
I kind of like that.
The
I don't
Gun
know.
Club.
Ammo
Gun
Brigade.
Club. The National Gun Association.
Call up game. So here's what you guys. I want you to do. Call up your local GameStop and ask them if you have Combat Frogs, the green box.
Burn in hell.
The only other thing from Raw that I wanted to mention is because I'm calling my shot. We got one more puppet from Firefly Funhouse. Mercy was behind Miz
Okay.
as Miz was walking down, which in the Undertaker came back. Who cares?
Who?
Roman was on Raw again, and this is now a full month that SmackDown superstar Roman Reigns has not appeared on SmackDown.
Wow.
Wild card.
Yep, he has been on Raw.
Wow. Oh shit. Where's my button?
He's been-
Wild card, bitches.
He's been on Raw. Shane has been on every show.
Well, yeah.
Since the wild
Well,
card
he's the
role.
greatest in the world.
But he's also not
Greatest of all time.
to be fair, he's not a signed talent. Like he's not assigned to one show or the other.
He pretty much owns
But
the show,
Roman
so he could
is.
be wherever.
And Roman has not been on SmackDown, his show, in literally a month. June 3rd was the last time that he's been on SmackDown. But so But I don't care about Undertaker at all at this point. Like,
No.
you have ruined it.
They've tarnished his legacy,
So,
which it's hard to do when you're the Undertaker, and it will never tarnish his legacy to the point that people won't respect him. But I don't care.
yeah.
My
But-
God, did you see someone posted "Let the Undertaker retire" and Michelle McCool liked it?
Undertaker also liked something very similar after that Super Showdown.
That
match
is funny
on
to me.
Instagram.
That is very funny to me.
But so Mercy the Buzzard showed up behind Miz, and I think that that's going to be Bray Wyatt's first feud.
Is Miz?
Is going to be Miz because he's going to by name call out Miz's kids because he's got
The puppets have shown up behind lots of people though. Why do you think Miz?
because Miz is the only one that it's been twice.
Really?
Yep. Because it's been Miz, Kofi, Fire and Desire. There was one more on SmackDown. I don't remember who it was. Or no, there was one more on Raw. The first week.
Because it was Miz with Abby the Witch.
Miz had Abby the Witch. I don't remember who it was on. Oh no, it was Daniel Bryan and Rowan.
Yeah.
So it was Daniel Bryan and Rowan, Kofi, Fire and Desire, and now Miz again.
See, Daniel Bryan and Rowan makes more sense to me.
That Bray
But
Wyatt
what's
would
the-
fuse
but
with
what's
them?
the context? What's the context of the feud?
I mean, there's a lot of history there.
I mean, yeah, but they haven't even acknowledged it even remotely. Whereas Miz has a child that he's constantly talking about, has a reality show based around his wife being pregnant and them raising their child.
And Bray Wyatt had a
They
show
just-
dedicated to kids.
They just announced that Maurice is pregnant again. So if he is trying to, corrupt the minds of the youth, I think, I think it's not a coincidence that it's been Miz twice.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
And again, this is wild speculation.
Bray's bringing back Nicholas.
He hasn't passed the 4th grade yet.
Former tag team champion. No, he hasn't aged out. He's still.
He's still the same age
Yeah,
forever.
forever.
That's what they do. They feed those
He
kids
let 'em
those
in.
things that keep them cute. See, the Stranger Things, they don't tell you. Those kids are 34 at this point.
I think almost are.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the one's got a show about pranking people who are looking for jobs.
What?
Did you not see that?
I saw this one.
The Toothless one has a Netflix show coming that is targeted around people like who think they've gotten hired from places and then they show up for work and it's like a terrible experience.
That is
So,
the
like-
worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awful. And I get like he probably doesn't have a lot to do with it, but whatever executive thinks like, hey, we're going to get people to think that they got hired at a thing.
Ooh.
That's
so
worse than.
bad.
All right, I'm going to take 5 seconds to explain this. More than 5. That's worse than the previous worst prank show I've ever heard about, which, if you remember, was called Juiced, where
No,
O.J.
I think-
Simpson
I'm pretty sure
tried to
that-
sell his white Bronco, and then would tell people like, "You're being juiced." There's the camera. That is not a joke.
I still think that
is
one's
a real thing.
substantially worse.
Jesus Christ. Anyway,
Yeah.
keep going.
SmackDown, Aleister Black, apparently the person who knocked on his door last week, ran. So he's going to show up at Extreme Rules to let them answer.
Walter
See,
White.
I want that to be Bray Wyatt.
I want to be Walter White.
I don't think it's going to be Bray because
the
I
one
think
that
I think they're moving. Well,
Because
this doesn't make sense either.
because he wouldn't let him in.
That'd be kind of funny. And I really want to see those matches, but I really hope it's Buddy Murphy because he tweeted "knock knock" after SmackDown last
That
week.
would also be,
But the leading speculation is it's Orton,
yeah.
I hope
I
it's
could-
Mojo Rawley.
which I could also see.
so Black
No.
would murder him.
kick his head off. Joe and Kofi had their segments on Raw and SmackDown. Kofi flipped off Joe on Raw and then laid him out with the Trouble in Paradise. I kind of like Kofi with an edge
Me too.
a little. Like
You can't smile all the time.
someone pointed out that on Raw was the first time Kofi has lost a match
Yep.
since he won the WWE Championship, which it's like
It's staggering.
They are low key making Kofi look straight up legit, which is going to be all the more impressive when Shane beats him.
Well,
Yeah.
they also did that thing where they talked about how isn't he in like the top 5 like champions of all time at
He
this
crossed
point?
1,500 days as
As
champion.
any kind of champion at WWE.
Yeah,
Which,
so
like, over 4 years worth of championship days.
Yeah.
to be fair, man, they say what you will about how they treated Kofi. He looks really good right now.
No, yeah,
God bless them.
they're making him look great, and that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Looks like we're getting an Owen Ziggler feud. I can't tell who they're going to try to turn face. I kind of hope Owens
It's
because
gotta be.
I was interested to see like how that was going to work whenever he came back, and then the Kofi thing happened,
Yeah.
and totally upended that. So, but that was cool. I love this is my show to close out the SmackDown.
I'm honestly shocked that Ziggler's sticking around past the Kofi feud. I figured he would take more time off and do his own thing.
And this might be like the thing. And he may still. It's just one of those things where he may just kind of float around for a little bit too. But those matches will be good, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I really like them. Those are the only things really from SmackDown. They Heavy Machinery got added to the Triple Threat at Extreme. Or now it's a Triple Threat.
You mean Jesse's favorite tag team in the world, Heavy Machinery?
Why is that?
Otis. Anything Otis did, Jesse was full of glee.
You know how I giggled at Turtle Dicks?
Yeah.
That was Jesse at Otis.
Literally anything he did, just walking. Just like the shape of him, the way he moves, Jesse loved it.
Yeah. Favorite thing ever. He did the worm.
Couldn't tell him anything about like the tag team. I don't even think he likes him as a wrestler. Just the fact that Otis exists just fills Jesse with joy, and it's one of my favorite things to watch.
very
Like
funny.
Extreme Rules is going to be awesome because we're going to be like, Heavy Machinery, Otis is on.
Jesse, it's Otis.
It's your new Lesnar.
More entertaining.
Impact was this past Friday, and this is a weird thing about covering Impact now that we record on Wednesdays. Is Slammiversary is this weekend, but they still have one more show because Impact airs on Fridays.
Right.
So we didn't see the go home show yet. That said, Brian Cage made his return.
That dude's a freak in nature.
He's a machine.
I told you, they're taking our jobs.
Him and
Robots are the enemy. Listen, I want to believe. Once a month, you can hear all about it.
Elgin and him brawled to close out the show. Next, the lead-in show is going to have Johnny Impact and Johnny Bravo versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack.
Whew.
Because Johnny Bravo was bragging to all of his ref friends that he could choke out Rich Swann. It's just like, oh no. It was fun.
Well, I just realized, so I got...
We stopped recording like 3 minutes.
No. I got a
20 minutes
message saying Justin Gurr liked your comment. I'm like, who the hell is Justin Gurr? So I went to go check, and it's Asa Gray's comment. I'm like, this doesn't make... I'm logged in as you. Let me log out of you real quick.
Oh, yes, please.
I just realized that. I'm like, who the hell is Justin Gurr? All right.
So, what time does Impact air on Friday? Because
I always just wait for him to post on Instagram. Impact.
Because I'll try to watch it.
I really... What channel is Impact on right now? I'm not being
I don't know
funny.
the name of the network, but it's on Twitch.
Okay, because I really want to start watching Impact more.
Because it's before Slammiversary, so I at least know that they'll catch
Friday nights at 9. I knew it was later.
Okay.
Because I can sometimes catch it whenever we come back from Villainous Grounds.
Oh, okay.
So, and I just I'll pull it up on my PlayStation app because for whatever reason my TV deleted the Twitch app and you can't get it anymore.
That's weird.
But yeah, so it's on Twitch and it's on demand on the Global Wrestling Network too. They're doing some cool stuff. They continue the story with the knockouts of
Havoc,
Taya Valkyrie, Havoc, Su Yung, and Rosemary because that's going to be the Monsters Ball match. Kara Hogan and Jordan Grace continue their feud. Tessa Blanchard got laid out by Sami Callihan and OVE because that match is coming up, which is still very weird that it came out of nowhere that he just randomly is a misogynist. Odd choice, but all right.
This reminds me
Don
of...
Callis got punched out by Elgin because he was threatening to fire him because of the way he's been acting and attacking people.
Yeah. That's really good whenever you're at a job review. Just punch your boss.
Right.
Welcome to wrestling.
Because you can.
Yeah. Where attempting to murder someone is not a big deal.
The Rascals beat LAX and Laredo Kid.
Yeah.
So they're going to have the Friday night, the match, the lead-in show, it's going to be a triple threat match with the 3 of the Rascals competing, and whoever loses the match won't be in the team again in their match against LAX.
That's...
Because it's a trios group.
Yeah.
And they all kind of tag together.
I know that. Yeah, it's just one of those, that's a really weird stipulation. I like it, but it's going to be that whole wrestling logic thing where we're like, but why does that work?
Well, and Impact also tends to bounce back and forth between, are they wanting to treat the Rascals, seriously, or are they going to have them do That 70s Show, smoke room, jokey, goofballs?
God, the Rascals are so good.
That was a very popular show.
It was a very popular show. But
which spawned a less popular 80s show.
That 80s show starring Bobby Lee.
Sorry, who?
Bobby Lee.
And?
Glenn Howerton.
Glenn Howerton.
Yep.
First time I ever saw him. Yeah.
I know things.
Anyway, yeah.
But the Rascals are really good. I like
know
them
things.
a lot.
Oh, yeah, Rascals are great.
The third guy, I can't think of his name, but Zachary Wentz and Desmond.
Trey Miguel and Desmond Xavier.
Thank you. Desmond Xavier. Those two at
Glory Pro.
Pancakes and Pile Drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were doing the Bessies dance, and Desmond Xavier just comes over and is like, sit down. I love that dude. And then just watching them wrestle, that was another one of those rabbit hole moments when we came back from New Orleans, where I was like, oh my God, these guys are insane.
Because I think we saw one of them at Glory Pro, or I thought we did. Maybe not. I don't know. Impact's cool. Check it out. I recommend that people look into it. Rich Swann, Johnny Impact, which actually, we have
talk about getting
because I don't know if we have all of the matches announced.
And Austin Aries is coming back at some point.
It was
Holding out hope.
It was all a work. It was all a work, brother.
Long con.
I don't know if we have all of the matches announced yet, or if something else is going to get added on Friday. But as of now, the Wikipedia listing is Brian Cage versus Michael Elgin for the World Championship, Rich Swann versus Johnny Impact for the X Division Championship, Moose versus Rob Van Dam. He's been having that story with the ECW legends that have been there between like Dreamer and Sabu and stuff. The Monsters Ball match, Ty Valkyrie defending against Rosemary versus Sue Young versus Jessica Havoc, LAX versus the Rascals, whichever one whichever one loses in that match won't be in.
Yeah.
Sammy Callahan versus Tessa Blanchard, and then Eddie Edwards versus Killer Cross, and that was revealed to be a First Blood match.
Cool.
Which again, Killer Cross is someone I think you would super dig.
Yeah, I really need to catch more Impact.
They
And,
did
and
ki-
I know it's a stupid question. He's dating Scarlett Bordeaux, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They did kind of a thing where they did the cinematic thing where Edwards was in a church and he was talking to a priest behind him, and then Cross just like materialized and replaced the priest, and it was weird, but they had a cool
Never mind.
They had a cool exchange of just like, no, the churches are calm. You don't want to start a fight in a church.
Oh, so they're doing the Highlander rule.
Kind of.
No blood spilled on hollow ground.
Yeah.
Hollowed ground.
So,
Sons of
but
bitches.
that's Sunday. You can order it on Fight TV. I think it's $40. So I think it'll be a good show. Impact continues to do really, really cool things. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they added like Jordan Grace versus Kiera Hogan as well coming out of Friday, and maybe something like I would be shocked if the North didn't get added onto the show, which is Ethan Page and Josh Alexander's tag team.
Oh, okay, cool.
I want to see the North fight the South because I've heard the South will rise again. That's what I've heard.
Well, they did. There was the North versus the Deaners on Friday.
The Deaners sounds like the worst racist term I've never heard of.
Cody Deaner and cousin Jake, which is Jake something, who is awesome.
Wait, Jake who?
Something.
Ace Austin and TJP will probably get like a match added because that
I did not know TJP signed with Impact.
he just debuted last week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love
Or that's
TJP.
when the episode aired, was last
Gotcha.
week, to beat Ace Austin, and then they kind of had a backstage exchange, which TJP throughout the "I've been shackled in a dungeon for the last 3 years" line, something like that. It's like,
Edgy.
come on, man.
When I think of Ace Austin, I can't help but think of Ace Hawkins and Austin Lane merged in one of those Conan O'Brien if they made it type scenarios.
And became like a magician,
Yes.
because that's what I don't know if you've seen Ace Austin. That's his shtick. He
I've
does
always
like
said-
sleight of hand stuff.
I've always said magicians would work great in wrestling. There's only the one that I can remember. Was it Phantasmo? Was his
Yeah,
name?
and it didn't go great.
And the one guy that we love showing the clip of.
Oh,
of-
that
of
one fuck, yeah.
Paul
Oh, the dude on
Tuesday Night Titans or
on
whatever.
Heenan's?
Yeah. Where
It
he
just bombs.
Where it was so bad they started playing plane crashing noises. Oh God, I'm gonna have to find out his name. All right, so this is the part of the show where we have to ask you guys that if you're here for controversial talk, now's the time, because we're gonna talk about Fyter Fest. Dalton is afraid that's gonna get real angry. Let's see what happens. I'm excited.
Wait, who's gonna get angry?
Anybody? We don't know. Allie's been raging over there for a while. You can tell by her calm demeanor and stoic attitude that she is just ready to burst. Explode, Bobby!
That is Bobby, explode.
Explode!
That took a second. Oh, I just the carpet. Jesus Christ.
Now you really explode. All right, so Fyter Fest was over the weekend. I did not get to see it. I have watched a bunch from it. We watched the Wrestling with Regret review earlier. It looked like it was an okay show, minus a few things that ranged from that wasn't great to that was, according to, what did Brian Zane say?
It was in his exact words, which was not trying to sound like an asshole. It's the
Jabali or whatever.
Jabali Nakazawa match.
Yeah.
He's like not trying to sound like an asshole, but this really does feel like a Make-A-Wish wish come to life.
When we talked about it last week, like previewing it, I genuinely I knew I recognized the name Jabali.
I didn't know
thought
him
it-
either.
I thought it was a wrestler, but it was one of those like, oh no, I've heard that name. I could probably pick him out if I saw him. I was entirely wrong. It's the CEO. The reason I heard his name is because he is the CEO of the CEO
Yep.
thing.
So he's
yeah.
a fighter guy,
It
fighter
was-
game guy, video game guy.
That one wasn't great. But in order.
No, about to say that one wasn't great. In order.
In order.
In order.
The pre-show started with probably the best thing to come out of the pre-show by a long stretch. Best Friends defeated Private Party and SCU. Another story that could have been a story on its own. When Private Party came back through the curtain, apparently they were immediately offered full-time contracts.
Which is great.
At
Yeah,
AEW,
that's
which is awesome
fantastic.
because they had
Yeah.
a great showing.
Yeah.
But the Best Friends won that. It was a fantastic match. I thought
The Dark Order did another thing.
Dark Order showed up and then but then they didn't attack them.
I'm sad they changed their name because I love the name Super Smash Brothers.
I get that they had to, but I also thought,
but it also gives us what an actual heel team could be.
Maybe I saw it wrong, because I had to watch on my phone because I have a Chromecast, and I could not find it anywhere. So I was like, all right, I'll just watch it on my phone. Which, when you're on Bleacher Report live, when you hit the live button, no matter how far into the broadcast it is, you have to manually scroll to actually get to the live portion.
And I only had to do that once, which is why I was confused.
Because for whatever reason, it just so I pulled up for the pre-show and it was just the logo. And I was like, oh,
which did
maybe the pre-show is exclusive on YouTube. So that's where I watched it. It's like, all right, I'll watch it on YouTube and go back. It's like, nothing. It's still just that. Because you have to actually scrub your way through to get to the actual live broadcast.
Because he's texting me, and I'm like, dude, I'm literally watching it right now.
And I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. Yeah. So I missed the first chunk of the Daniels Shima match. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so when the Dark Order surrounded the ring, were they not on the hard cam side?
They were all around the ring.
Because I kept looking and I never saw them on the hard cam side, so it looked like there was only 3 sides surrounded, and they kept oh no, even there. And I'm like, there's no one there. So maybe I just didn't see it correctly. Or
I think they were completely surrounded.
Okay, because that looked weird to me.
Trent and Chuck are amazing actors. They could have made it work.
I don't know how I feel about the lights go off. Appear lights go off. And it's very WWE-ish in its Undertaker-ishness of it, but I was also never a fan of the Undertaker's supernatural stuff.
Well, it's that or have 8 guys stay under the ring for an entire match. So
I mean, they want a paycheck or not?
Well, but when you consider what was already under the ring, apparently.
Yeah, no, F all that noise.
I'm not crawling through the ring with all the barbed wire and
for the Moxley match. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Then came the second worst thing on the show.
Well, just real quick too. The best friends now get a match at All Out, and whoever wins that tag match at All Out gets a bye through the first round for that tag team tournament that they're airing. So
because that couldn't be convoluted enough.
Then we got the librarian gimmick again with it's Leva Bates and Peter Avalon, who cut a promo where she was trying to be heel, and he was interrupting her to reiterate her points.
Boy, I don't get the librarian.
See, and that's
nobody
the thing,
does.
Is it's so I was going to ask you, so is this a road to Fyter Fest or a being the elite thing that I just do not get?
They've mentioned it a couple times on it, being the elite, but I still don't get it.
It's a baffling gimmick.
The one time that I saw it that I was like, okay, I kind of understand. It was Peter Avalon talking to Joey Ryan about well, how did you deal with a tag team like this? Where's that cute blonde girl? And he's like, that they did that kind of bit with it, but that's literally all I've seen. So unless I've just missed it on being the elite,
yeah.
But it's one of those that I don't get it, and that match wasn't great.
Which it was supposed to be Kylie Ray originally, but then it was Allie making her.
Congratulations,
AEW
Allie,
debut.
making your AEW debut.
Different Allie,
better Allie.
Why
right here.
Why is this the one bit
Let her
you're
have
not all
this.
for?
Let her have this.
Have you seen our Allie and that Allie in the same place at the same time?
If you guys would come
Checkmate.
If you guys would come over and watch events every once in a while at my house, I'd be able to prove it.
She can't because she's at the goddamn event.
What do you can't be in 2 places at once, you idiot.
Stupid.
But yeah, that kind of died. The match was fine, I think. But the match, that promo and that character, very much needs to be explained.
Do you remember the finish?
Not really.
All right, so Peter Avalon, I'm not going to say he threw the book too far, obviously.
Oh, he chucked it.
Yeah, he was supposed to hand it to Leva Bates, but then ended up slipping and falling.
It was a miscommunication.
That's right.
I am fine with that. That was something that's been a thing in wrestling. Mm-hmm. But then so Allie threw the book at Leva Bates, and she looked at it and then got a super kick, but then threw the book away after she got super kicked. Mm-hmm. Because my thing is, why wouldn't you have just hold it up to your face, let her super kick the book into your face? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It wasn't a great match, in my opinion.
No, I don't remember. It didn't stand out as anything nothing truly stood out as bad other than
the librarian
that promo.
Yeah, and I'm a big Leva Bates fan.
I love Leva Bates.
I'm a big Allie fan.
She did do the chops where she did the shush, but she was way more aggressive than anybody's ever been on shushing people before a chop.
That was my other favorite thing from the Wrestling with Regret was Brian said maybe we're wrong and that they're so into the gimmick they were being quiet because she told them to shush.
Well, and to be fair, they were getting a lot of fun chants. Hooked
on
Phonics, we
reading,
can't read.
Yeah, Reading also, Rainbow was another one.
I do did you see what book it was that she had out there? The Art of Selling.
Oh,
fun.
That's almost as good as Evil Dead 2 when Ash cuts his hand off and he puts it under like a trash can. He puts a book on top of it. It's in a farewell to arms. Goddamn comedy.
Fun.
Comedy.
Fun.
The next up was the Michael Nakazawa versus Alex Jabali and a
Oily
hardcore
Man
match.
versus video game nerd.
Yeah.
It happened.
It happened. Moving on.
Nakazawa earned every ounce of that paycheck that he got to walk him through that entire match.
And to be planted square on his head on that nasty German.
Oh yeah, that too. Well, whenever that happened, I just looked at Sadie and Derek because like he's Japanese, they train their necks, and I was just like, they do. I'm not just Allie. Don't look at me like that.
No, he's right. As a society, they all look down because they're like so afraid of seeing each other.
That's not what it is. The wrestlers in Japan train their necks,
And then sometimes they have to look up really high to see Godzilla.
Jesus Christ.
Not a racist joke.
No, clearly not.
Japanese films. Godzilla.
So yeah, no, that match was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it
Stand by
wasn't. It wasn't good.
Uh,
Which I don't think anyone expected it to be, but they did more than they needed to.
my favorite thing was
It was way more competitive than it was supposed. I mean, like it sounded like they tried to do an actual match.
And they did, but like Jabali is not in a position to be doing the things that they had him do.
I also
Yeah.
heard that he couldn't, and I didn't see the match. This is just me going off Brian Zane, basically. But that he kept corpsing, that he couldn't keep a straight face for the match.
yeah, he had an issue with that.
Which, by the way, if you've never seen the Steve-O thing, where I think I said in a group chat,
Umaga.
yeah,
Where they rewatched the
they
worst ass
rewatch it,
kicking
and he
he's ever
points out
had.
how he didn't keep a straight face. He didn't know that just basically meant he was going to kick his ass even more.
Yeah.
That was funny.
My favorite spot of that entire match, because it was a gimmicky street fight, which was one of them got hung by a GameCube controller, and it was a legit Nintendo brand GameCube controller. So that was
Those
like
are
a
expensive.
That was like a $50 bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the main show kicked things off with Shima versus Christopher Daniels. I like that match from what I saw, but again, like I said, I was having issues with the stream.
It was good.
before to figure out how to actually get to the
Show.
actual show.
Yeah, I liked it a whole lot.
Rio defeated Nyla Rose and Yuka Sakazaki, and ended with the saddest image in professional wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Of them trying to Sakazaki trying to clear Rose from the ring to help Rio, and then went to shake her hand and Rio brushed her off, and she was just so sad.
And they kept the camera on her for a couple.
Too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
Please tell me the video went to black and white and they started playing piano music.
They might as well
Hello,
have.
darkness, my old friend.
Oh, they might as well had. Let's see. The 4-way match, Hangman Page versus MJF versus Jimmy Havoc versus Jungle Boy.
Before the match, I want to talk about it. MJF. I loved that entire promo.
I hated it.
Really?
It felt so lazy.
Oh, well, it was low-hanging fruit.
I
But
love video games, but then I lost my virginity.
Nerd stuff. And
But it's
like,
very much, that's very much his character.
I know it is, but but when he does it well, he's way more creative. And I get that's the setting. You're at Fyter Fest. It's in partnership with CEO, which is going on that same weekend. Like, I get that it's themed, but like some of the stuff that MJF comes up with is amazing. This wasn't. This was, like I said, just the most basic, low-hanging fruit, and it just felt, to me, it felt lazy.
I loved it.
So,
I'm somewhere in between you two.
It's one of those where, like, it's gotten to the point now, anytime he touches a microphone, I get excited. Because
I still love MJF, and
Yeah.
and this isn't like, oh, he's the
He's
worst,
shit,
like he's
yeah.
overrated, anything like that. It's just for me personally, I thought he could have done more than just the Virgin's bad hygiene. Okay, cool.
They could have given it to John Moxley and it would have just been his WWE promos.
No, there was at least some continuity in the MJF one.
Also, I sent Dalton a message. I was like, so if Jungle Boy can come out on Luchasaurus' shoulders, why can't Hangman come out on Marcos?
I'm trying to remember.
I had to think about that in proper fraction for a second. I was like, Marco could probably do it.
Where did I hear this from? Because I was not on board with Luchasaurus. It's not that I disliked him. I just he didn't interest me. And then I saw him make a post about something where he said he's had to deal with it for the past 35 million years.
So Jim Cornette hates it.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And he's like, I've been dealing with hate for 65 million years.
That alone, just I was like, all right, thumbs up.
Yeah.
I love it. That's living the gimmick.
Anytime they're on Being the Elite, they do something that they're not supposed to, him and Jungle Boy, because literally that's a thing now. If they're on Being the Elite, Jungle Boy is on Luchasaurus' shoulders. And like he was driving in a Jeep with the top down, and Jungle Boy was on top of it, like sitting on top of him. And he'd get out of the car, and Jungle Boy would just like flip his legs over and then sit back on him. Anytime he says something, somebody will tell him, you're not supposed to do that. He'd just be like, I have a master's degree. Luchasaurus does that. I don't know why that giggles me so much, but it does.
I just hate. I
got
hate
all
that
that
they
time to
ripped off
study.
Pixar with the Good Dinosaur. Like
It was the scariest freak the mighty is what I always call it.
it's Adventure Island on Super Nintendo, the new version. The
but
remake's really weird.
Hangman Page won the match, pinning Jimmy Havoc.
That match was insane. I loved it.
It was a great match. This is one of the things though where it's like, and they kind of dodged it with this next match with Cody and Darby Allin, but like, we know that wins and losses matter, and we know that they are on board for like long-term storytelling. There wasn't a second in my mind that Hangman wasn't winning this match.
Yeah.
Because he's like their number one contender. Like it's him versus Jericho for the championship. So it's gonna be weird, but I think once they get the roster a little bit more fleshed out and a little bit more established, we'll move away from having those issues.
Yeah, because I remember WWF in the 80s. Of course, I was a kid, so I didn't realize it as much. But I was tricked into the 80s into believing that anyone could win in WWF. You know, like it wasn't a foregone, like with Royal Rumbles now. It's always, oh, well, they're definitely going to go with this guy, and we're usually right. But in the 80s, it was like, I don't know who's going to win the Royal Rumbles are amazing. So hopefully AEW will have a similar thing where you won't know who's going to win these matches, and it's important.
And like I said, especially once they get a TV deal and the roster is a little bit more established, I think
You get to see more people more often.
we'll see a lot more of that. The next match was Cody versus Darby Allin, ending in a 20-minute time limit draw. And this is, of course, where most of the discussion comes from, like, of the weekend.
Yes.
And not for the great reasons, because, of course, so it ends in a 20-minute draw. But it seems like they're going to restart the match and go another 5 minutes like Cody was demanding. But then Shawn Spears comes out, cracks Cody over the top of the head with a chair. Cody doesn't get his hands up, and you can see a frame, like I put it on Billy's.
Yeah, you can see where
Facebook,
the
where you
chair
can see
wraps.
where the lip wraps around and gets Cody in the back of the head, opens him up, requires 10 staples, which AW posted 12. Cody corrected it to 10, and no concussion. And it was just like Darby Allin just had what was a star-making performance to people like me who aren't super familiar with
I had
him.
no idea who he was until this.
I knew the name, and I recognized the gimmick with like the half face paint thing, but I hadn't seen much of him. But I was like, oh, this is someone that I'm super into now, and it was all completely overshadowed by the chair shot. He did that incredibly stupid like trust fall.
Yeah, so
Back onto the apron.
The coffin drop.
Yeah.
So I want to mention, you said this was a star-making performance of Darby Allin, and you're right. This really put him on the map. But I absolutely hated some of the moves they did in this match.
Yes.
The Darby Allin where he goes into the corner, flies through it, and hits the post.
And like, oh yeah, that
I don't
Sideways.
understand how that works.
the physics works of him like doing a cross body block through the turnbuckles to hit the post and then wraps his way out to the floor.
One thing that
to
Brian
a
Zane,
perfect flat back bump.
Yeah.
and we've mentioned Brian Zane way too much on the show. He's a great guy. He's a great program, but we've mentioned him a lot. But one thing he said was he kept repeating the risks during this match, the risks they were taking in this match. And this was the match that really put that over for me, was all the risks they were taking. That shit is stupid.
See-
like, that shit is stupid. Him taking the crossbody into the post made me cringe. Him doing the trust fall was fucking, and I'm going to use my 50, fucking stupid. I hated it. Whenever you talk about risks in wrestling and people getting hurt, what a stupid thing to do. And I get he chose to do it. It's not like anyone forced him. That was his spot.
If you go
But
back and
God
watch any of
damn.
Darby, because even he posted a thing about like on that of people like criticizing him for it. And he's like, if it wasn't for wrestling, I'd be doing stupid shit anyway. Because he's like
He was a professional skateboarder.
Yeah, and like he posts videos of him like falling on skateboards and stuff. So that's one of the things that made me. This led to, and between his performance and the chair shot, there was a big thing on wrestling Twitter of just like
It was very
someone.
50-50.
I can't remember who posted it, but I think it was Jake something that made the point that like really kind of rattled me a little with professional wrestling as a whole. Because someone posted something that's like, yeah, he didn't get a concussion, but that's not what CTE is. And to have commentary mention CTE multiple times by name while that was all happening was real weird, real uncomfortable. But someone's like, yeah, no, the unprotected chair shot, there's no place for it in wrestling. You know, just because he's okay now, that's the long term. And Jake something pointed out of like, if that's your attitude, you should not be in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Because literally everything that we do in the ring, the human body is not meant to do. Hulk Hogan ruined his back on leg drops.
Yep.
And that kind of hit me
Yeah.
in a way of just like, man, we gushed over that Marco Jackson match, but that Canadian Destroyer on the wooden ramp,
Yeah.
it's kind of ignorant.
Yeah.
And how many things week to week do we see that was awesome, but ultimately is going to lead to a terrible quality of life for literally everyone involved in this sport.
Because again, go back to Hulk Hogan. But and the argument being that Hulk Hogan, and he said it himself many times, he didn't have to do crazy, insane spots.
Right.
He got over on his charisma. He got over on his look. He made millions of dollars, sold out arenas everywhere. Still fucked up his body doing basic stuff.
Doing leg drops.
So when I see stuff like this, it's not that I'm criticizing because I'm like, oh, that takes no talent to do it. It takes a lot of talent to do it. I'm just scared for them.
Yeah, and again, it's the choice they make, but like how much of an educated decision is it? Like how we don't truly know the effects of CTE, we don't truly know the effects
What
of,
onsets it, yeah.
Just because you can do it now and get away with it doesn't mean 30 years from down the line you're not going to go, man, I wish I hadn't done that.
If we're being serious, like I could get punched in the face this Saturday at Stride and get a concussion.
Yeah.
Like
every time wrestlers get in the ring,
so
and
it's
do
one of those
anything.
like, because whenever I was thinking about it, it's like, all right, we're gonna have to talk about this chair shot, because like my overall stance is I am not gonna tell two grown men in their 30s who have been making more money than I can count in wrestling, tell them that they can't do this. They made the call. They apparently gimmicked the chair. That's what Khan said.
I don't believe that.
But I'm going with what they said, so I'm literally taking everything there. These are two professionals in the actual sense of the word. They are two professional wrestlers. They made a choice. I can't tell them to not do it. My personal opinion in the year 2019, there's literally no reason to keep your hands down, because I've taken like 3 or 4 chair shots in matches.
Hands up.
Both.
Yeah.
Because you can get the same effect. It was a different visual than what we're used to.
Okay, so
but it's not a visual that I personally miss.
The narrative that they tried to drive to is that Cody was so exhausted after the match and his hand was so injured. Because I will say, I loved that little bit of storytelling. Cody outperformed, had the strength advantage. He had like every advantage up on Darby Allin, but Darby, they did such a good story of telling that story of the hand. He couldn't get a grip. Like Darby was working fingers on stuff because his hand could have been broken. I loved that aspect to it. Like I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, because
storytelling.
He kicked between the ring, the steps, and the post, right?
Yeah. And and then it's like, okay, well, he didn't use that hand to put up because like he didn't, it was already broken. In a fight, if we were to believe that, if the Coronet logic of this is a fight, this is a competition, you should be trying to beat the shit out of your opponent to win the match. If you were in a fight and someone swings a chair,
natural reaction.
Your natural reaction is to try to block it with your hands.
Yeah.
So I've never bought the whole, chair, if you don't put your hands down is protected.
I want to say I agreed with, again, Brian Zane when he said about chair shots that there is a primal enjoyment of seeing a chair shot to the head.
There is a visual to it
and
is so synonymous with wrestling because of the 90s and before.
I'm about to say I grew up in the 90s and chair shots were common and I enjoyed them. Of course, I don't want anyone to risk their life. I really don't. So chair shots are disgusting now, but I think there's nothing, and yes, long term, of course, but there's nothing more disgusting with the chair shot than there was of him jumping backwards onto an apron where he could have broken his neck. He could have broken his back. Yeah, it's not a long term like brain issue, but that was stupid. That was just as stupid to me as a chair to the head.
So my thought between when you're comparing chair shots to the head and things that will directly damage your brain, and things that damage your body, like your back or your neck, is that, because you also mentioned while we were watching the Brian Zane video, it's your thoughts on wearing a seatbelt. It's my decision, it's my body. We have learned that with brain damage, you can eventually start affecting the people around you.
Yeah, look at Chris Benoit.
Exactly. So there is more weight, in my opinion, to brain damage in the sense of it at some point isn't just you affecting yourself. It's not you making a decision for yourself.
Well, I'm looking at this in the terms of professional wrestling, where him jumping backwards onto the apron, him taking the chair shot to the head, both were unnecessary risks that could get someone really hurt.
Yes.
He didn't have to jump. They didn't have to do the chair shot to the head. It looked and sounded great because there is that primal part of you that wants to see people get hurt legitimately. But him jumping backwards onto the apron and him jumping through with the crossbody and stuff like that, it's just we're at a level of wrestling now where it's getting, and maybe it's safe, but it looks so dangerous, and it looks like one slip up and these guys could really hurt themselves. And I'm not talking about I'm going to body slam you and you could get hurt from that, or you could break your leg taking this move or something like that. I'm talking about like moves that are so high risk that there is not an inch of leeway on whether or not you could seriously hurt yourself. Because no one's going to tell me that Darby Allin in that match did not seriously risk his career completely. And I get he's trying to impress people, but you don't have to do that. And yeah, Hogan hurt himself over years from doing leg drops. And it's one of those things that wrestling is one of those things that over time, your body's going to wear down. But it's accelerated so much when you do stuff like that. And I don't think he is weighing the consequences of his actions now because he's young and he can do it versus how is he going to be able to walk or move around 30, 40 years from now. And I just think that we need to put this on the same level as chair shots, because chair shots are dangerous, and we know blows to the head are bad. But man, so is jumping backwards, which also doesn't make any sense, because if you're in a fight, the last thing you're going to do is jump backwards when you can't see and just go, man, I hope this lands. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I don't want to get on a Cornette horse here, and I'm not going to. But my fear is just with the wrestlers. I am scared that we're going to keep upping the ante, and that the crowd is going to want to see more and more dangerous stuff, to the point that wrestling is going to be just a nightmare. If you want to get into the wrestling business, that old school shit don't play anymore. People want to see blood. They want to see, it's Roddy Piper on It's Always Sunny.
Oh, you mean the Maniac?
I'm sorry, the Maniac.
Because his mania is not confined to the ring.
No, we're dealing with a legitimate maniac at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the I don't know.
I didn't like it.
No, I didn't like that spot either. Which, I mean, he's done it before. So
it's not
the first time he's done it, which is, I don't know if that makes it better.
Jason, a handful of months ago, told me about him because he was looking at him, and I was like, I don't know who this is. So I watched him. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's visually impressive, but so are car wrecks. Car accidents are visually impressive. You can see a car wreck and go, oh shit. Doesn't mean it's
Why
good.
people watch NASCAR. I will say the other thing too, like from a story perspective that I really didn't like, is when everybody came out to like check on Cody, MJF was out there.
You being the elite. And you're gonna
cool.
give.
That's fine, but like I know I'm not the only person watching that isn't totally up to date on being the elite.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
And his whole character is he hates everybody.
He has one best friend. Well, he has two best friends, Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes. Literally, like, and he did a backstage like press conference promo where he talks about like Sean Spears is a fuck for doing that. Like he's a disgusting human. Cody, like,
well, they just announced they're on a team for Fight for the Fallen. So,
but who's on the team?
It's MJF, Sean Spears, and Sammy Guevara going up against Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, and Joey Janela.
Cool. Thumbs up.
That's gonna be
like and
ignorant.
subscribe.
But like Cody Rhodes is MJF's best friend, or MJF's best friend is Cody.
Okay. Well, the attitude and the character that he's portrayed on screen, if you're only following the actual wrestling show, is he hates everybody, and it makes no sense for him to be concerned about another individual.
It reminds me of when the New Age Outlaws pushed off Terry Funk and Mick Foley in the dumpster, and you had everybody come out, heels, faces, and everybody's concerned. It's when you're trying for that moment of realism that like, oh, everyone's concerned about this, we're going to go check on them. But it does take you out of it, because I'm not saying there should be a hard line between what is wrestling and what is reality, because we've all said it before, it blends so well with wrestling and reality, but it can be a little off-putting when you see it like that.
And don't get me wrong, like I am staunchly always one of those people that says I hate when it's we are friends because we are both good. We are friends because we are both bad.
Because you can be friends with a bad guy.
But like
good guys can be friends with bad guys.
The MJF character, again, from what we've seen strictly on what AEW has produced, makes no sense for him to be concerned about.
Now, if I
unless he cut an interview about like wanting to suck up.
That's what I was about to say. The road to the Double or Nothing. That was the big thing. Like he tried killing Dustin Rhodes for Cody. Like that was a thing. And like
Goldust caught him and like, aren't you MJF? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and just like left.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been a big thing, and it also makes sense because Cody Rhodes is the boss of AEW.
Right. But like
so
I
it's
said,
just like, why is MJF his best friend? Oh, that's why.
Plus, don't forget, Mr. Burns had Bobo.
That's true.
Everybody's got a Bobo.
2 matches left to burn through real quick. The 6-man tag, Kenny Omega or the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Bucks versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid.
Ken and Ryu and Okuma, who didn't get his gear in time, which was very funny to me.
Yeah, because it's the whole thing of just like, yep, the gear maker didn't get it done in time. That was what they said.
Because you said that they dressed up as Ryu, Ken, and Akuma, and I looked at it, I was like, okay, Ken and Ryu, where's Akuma's outfit?
He's got it on his
He's
back.
got the back, yeah.
Well, because they were doing the whole story of like the Fire Festival parody, which Mark Hoppus actually tweeted, like, because they were like, oh, Blink 182 were supposed to be here. And so he tweeted the next morning, like, hey, the check bounced.
And that's why Mark Hoppus is the best one.
Yeah, well, he's not, at the forefront of UFO study. Make sure you check out I Want to Believe on the Podzilla 1985 network.
No, he's actually making music.
Yeah. What he's good
Tom
at.
DeLonge is making music again?
No.
Oh.
Fortunately.
Because I like the way he sings like, ee.
I did. Don't waste your time on me.
Sounds like Superhuman.
My hearing aid went out.
For the Juggalos. No, I'm not going to make fun of them. No.
The
No.
I liked. There were a couple things that I really liked in
Hope
this
you liked
match. One, I liked. I think it was Matt running to Justin Roberts
It's
after
like,
the
you have
introduction.
to say
You
it.
have to say it. You have to say it. Round 1, fight. Like, I dug
And
that.
then JR had to be like, it's only one round, guys. It's only one.
It could have just said round.
I also liked the Hadouken spot.
That was funny.
I thought that was fun.
They made contact, Shannon, because whenever I told Shannon
He
that, he was like,
explained it to
please
me.
tell me they made
No,
contact.
they actually
Because
threw
I didn't want it to be the
fireballs.
thing where like there was a CG fireball thrown in or something.
That said, I did not super love this match.
Mm-hmm.
It was entertaining for sure, but it's the same kind of complaint that I had with that first 2 out of 3 falls match with Gargano and Cole that everybody loved, is that there were certain moments that weren't quite as crisp as I think that they needed to be. So everything did feel a little bit
Disjointed.
too choreographed. Which is I think that's a valid criticism for the Young Bucks, which they typically avoid because everything is so snappy.
Yeah.
There was just a brief couple moments that kind of took me out of it in general. I mean, but that said, like, it was very entertaining. I just didn't like it as much as I think a lot of people did.
There was also a lot of like Kenny Omega Penta stuff,
Yeah.
which
No, which I'm into.
I
And give me more.
need another one.
And then, but the Young Bucks, the Elite won that match. And then, the other thing that I really didn't like, which before we get to, I want to point out, Golden Boy on commentary was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought the commentary team did a really good
I
job.
don't know Golden Boy.
He's a shoutcaster in the fighting game
Okay.
community.
Gotcha.
He's really talented. Like, I like him as a personality. I'm not super familiar with him, but he started showing up in more things that I've seen recently. And I thought he did a really, really good job on Saturday. And then the main event, except it wasn't the main event because it's unsanctioned. We're just letting you use all of our production values, all of our ring. Our commentary team is still going to call the match. You're still getting an AEW referee, but it's unsanctioned match between Joey Janela and Dean Ambrose.
Can I say, I do love that they did the super old school thing.
Where they turned the light off. And
I
turned
love when they do that.
It's not enough. I like that. I just hate the idea. Just call it a death match. Be like, hey, these are special waivers. These are special like documents that they had to go out of their way to sign to hold AEW not responsible for any damage that happens.
They were in Florida, in a state where you can pretty much do anything. So that
Then why couldn't AEW just put their name on it?
That's fair.
Why couldn't they just sanction it then?
Also-
I hate that idea.
Also, breaking news that as I'm just on here and I'm refreshed occasionally. I don't know if it was said before, but WWE has confirmed that Maria Kanellis is actually pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that they confirmed it, or if,
Yeah.
if people were still thinking like it could be just
No,
storyline.
no, like it,
Okay.
no. It is a legit, like Meltzer I think pointed it out the next night
Yeah.
too.
Gotcha.
But no,
So getting out of that-
I hate the idea of an unsanctioned match. Anything. I think it's dumb. And
That's
there's
what Dalton and I had.
There's way better ways.
We had a
to,
street fight.
No, you had a street fight.
I've had an unsanctioned match. You've had a street fight.
Which was your unsanctioned match?
Austin.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I didn't super like that idea. Again, I think it's like there's better ways to get around it.
Right.
Anyway, I am not a fan of death matches at all. That said, this match taught me that I will follow fucking John Moxley to the end of the era. to the end of the earth.
Into the Earl.
I am
That too.
so thoroughly entertained by that man that I will watch whatever.
It's also super important to note, like, because I've seen death matches. This was a slightly more amped up hardcore match.
And can I point out something real quick? The term deathmatch is associated with dangerous pro wrestling. They're getting thrown into, there's tacks and stuff like that. Still safer than jumping backwards onto the side of an apron.
You just really wouldn't go back to that well, didn't you?
No, I'm just saying, I would rather be thrown into tacks and stuff like that. Am I bleeding? I feel like I'm bleeding. I would rather do that than some of the stuff. Like, hardcore wrestling isn't even that scary in this instance, because I know those death matches that like Big Lee watches. No, screw that. I've seen guys take pile drivers with cement blocks around their head, but this was pretty much just a hardcore match, which to me was less frightening in some aspects than a regular match previously.
Because and that's why I think they didn't use.
I'm definitely bleeding.
They didn't use that term death match because it's one of those like when you have companies like CCW and GCW that do death matches.
I hate the idea that we're gatekeeping the term deathmatch. Like, barbed wire is legitimate. Barbed wire and tacks are not hardcore enough that these people are getting like their panties in a twist because there wasn't light tubes. I don't. What qualifies as a deathmatch?
Well, it's one of those like when
Death?
What level of blood?
Right.
And I don't know. I think that's dumb.
I agree
Especially
with you.
If you have Dean or if you have fucking John Moxley, it's going to take me forever to get that right. And Joey Janela in a match like that, like if they come out and say, no, we didn't have a death match, then I will listen to them. But I'm not going to tell those two people that you only did 2 barbed wire spots and you went barefoot onto thumbtacks. You're kind of a bitch. Just call it a hardcore match.
And John
Well, I'm not
Moxley,
saying that
to be
they're a
fair,
bitch.
His
Like,
skin didn't rip apart and blood flow out. So was
But,
it
like,
a match?
So, but like, I'm not saying that like they were like it was a lesser match because it wasn't a death match. I'm just saying, whenever you have like there's a following for that. If you're gonna call it a death match, there are expectations, and it didn't get to that level of violence, thank God, because like I can't like I've seen a couple of them.
Then again, legitimately, what more would they have had to do for it to be a death match?
Forks.
Not even forced, but like we've seen like the weed eater thing that Shane Strickland's
Yes,
done.
but that is a super, like, not every match has that. Not every death match has something where someone takes a hacksaw into like someone's shoulder.
So can I just say, I've never known what the definition of deathmatch was, period. Because to me, deathmatch sounds like someone dies.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my understanding of deathmatch is wrong. I just thought it was a way of marketing a hardcore style.
It's
Like
a lot.
extreme hardcore.
Like
style.
an extreme hardcore style.
It's a lot worse than a hardcore match or even an unsane. And I think they painted themselves in a corner in this show because you had a hardcore match in the pre-show. So you had to change it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like you don't want to use the term death match because that'll turn people off.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're an actual like I'm
But again, but a hardcore, like that pre-show was a hardcore match.
Yes, and that's what it was billed at.
You had buttons. You had buttons and
GameCube
controllers and chairs.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this has barbed wire and tacks and like stuff that you don't just see in a typical because when I think hardcore match, I think WWE.
Table,
I think
maybe.
chair match. You might pull out a kendo stick.
Yeah.
Maybe a table. You know, this had way more than what you would see on a traditional like hardcore, and even went much farther. And maybe just in my opinion, maybe I'm a sissy, I don't know, but like they went way farther than what they did in the hardcore match that they advertised.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like that should have been called a hardcore match. That should have been Joey Janela and Dean John Moxley in a hardcore match, and I'd have been like, fuck yeah, they got it.
So,
but if they would have called it a death match, I'd have been like, I wouldn't have been like, oh, they're bitches, but I'd have been like, the death matches tend to be more gross.
Can I ask a question? Legitimate
Yeah.
question. Was there any build-up? Because I don't know. I haven't followed as closely. Was
So-
there literally any build-up between John Moxley and Joey Janela? Because why would they have a death match for no reason?
And again, it's super important to note that they had an unsanctioned match.
Okay, but why? Where was the blood
okay,
feud
so-
that warrants a unsanctioned death match?
After Double or Nothing, and again, this is being the elite, and it's one of those things like until they have a TV show.
I get it. It's my frustration, and we've said this on the show before. My hatred of like the Star Wars thing, where why is General Grievous the way he is? Well, did you watch this other thing that was not
Yes.
part of it? No, I didn't. Well, then We're not going to explain it.
Yes, until they have a TV show. I'm sorry, guys, but this is how that they're doing it. If you want to know everything, you have to watch it.
So what happened that would
So
create
after Double or Nothing, he kills Kenny off of the poker chips. He goes in the back and is just pacing. Like, Moxley's going to kill somebody. And then Joey Janela just shows up being Joey Janela, smoking a cigarette, and he just takes it from him. And that's what it was.
That's the hardcore death match?
Well, but it's also, like, it is worth noting, though, like, Janela has said before, like, he's filling that void that Moxley left in the deathmatch community when he signed to WWE.
But did they address that?
I mean,
Because
they did
to me,
in
that's
commentary,
okay, good. Because
Like, they told that story,
that's
yeah.
a great way to sell it. That is good.
This is Moxley's return to kind of take his crown back.
Okay.
As king of the deathmatch, but then they do it and they don't have an actual deathmatch. Then I guess according
Well, that's
to
what Big
people,
Lee said.
Well, and it's one of those, like,
He put something on Facebook that was like, people are calling this a death match, but it wasn't a death match. I didn't know what he was talking about.
See, yeah, and again, like I didn't see that, but it's that thing of just like I don't get how you can tell these guys that, like, and granted they didn't advertise it as
yeah,
one,
it was an unsanctioned match, like.
but it's still.
So when did the term death match come around for this match?
It was the guys on the commentary calling, like, because for what it is, Janela and Moxley are both prolific deathmatch wrestlers. So when you have an unsanctioned match, you have match with no rules. The word deathmatch is gonna get thrown out there because they both have held, and I'm willing to say Moxley has had the CZW championship.
I'm pretty sure.
But like Janela held that. Janela is a big reason that GCW is as popular as it is now.
Right.
Like, Janela has been a prolific deathmatch wrestler for his entire career for the most part. So you have that, and then you have, which, like, it was a pioneer in deathmatch wrestling almost, with fucking Moxley. And you have these two in a match that's unsanctioned, no rules you can do. You have more creative license to do things like that. That word is going to get thrown out there. But it was not that level of, like, and whenever I say deathmatch wrestling, it's just like, do I want to puke after this match? That's usually my filter of, like, and of course, like, they call it deathmatch. Like, there's King of Deathmatch tournaments. You didn't have, like, there's almost every time blood from, like, face from both people. There's bleeding, like, cutting, shit like that. And
so how do you then?
It feels like a backyard match almost. When I hear death match, I think backyard stupid shit, basically.
Ish, yeah, but I don't want to say that.
But in a professional setting.
Like, I don't really want to shit on people by saying that.
No, and I'm not
like,
trying to shit on them. I'm just saying, when I hear death match, I think of...
There's, because it's one of those things like, this is a lucha mask. No, it's a dude in a mask. Like, there's categories of it that makes it that. And it's a fine line in my opinion, but it's a death match is usually more gross to me. If I have somebody on here that watches death matches a whole lot, like, I'm going to ask Roger about it. Because Roger's done death matches. I'm going to ask him.
If this was on the level of a death match he's wrestled.
Because maybe it's just my personal taste of it.
I guess I just don't understand what the requirements are for a qualification for it to be called a death match, for people to get upset at the idea that these two people
I'm not upset
who are
about
death
it.
match,
Pioneers.
legends.
Well, from what Dalton's telling me, it was not advertised as a death match. They talked about their death match
History.
Pedigree, yeah.
So people are just taking that and then just taking that and going like, well, that wasn't a death match. And it's like, well, they didn't say it was a death match. You could make the assumption that when you have two deathmatch pioneers fighting in a match that is very hardcore, it could be called a death match. But I feel like people are getting too upset over nothing.
Yeah, they were arguing over semantics, and I wasn't trying to start a whole thing by saying that.
No, I
can tell you were, because your voice elevated to a point that it doesn't normally consistently.
I just don't. Like I said, I don't get how, because like some people on Twitter are getting very angry about the fact that they're calling this a death match,
and that's why they didn't call it a death match, because you would have that entire. Well, I wouldn't say that entire community.
Yeah, but you would have a lot of those people that would be like, no,
that's not a fucking death match.
Yeah, and but it's like, what is it? Again, it goes all the way back to the chair shot and him doing the coffin drop of just like, at what point, like, are you not entertained?
Right.
Like, what do these people have to do to themselves?
Yeah.
For them to get your respect and like.
But back to that match. That match was, for what it was really good.
I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Because
I didn't like the taking the shoes off spot.
No, I didn't like a lot of that match. Like,
so as a man that once stepped on a toothpick to the point that it was so deep I had to take pliers and pull it out slowly, I can respect that tack spot in the feet, because that shit sucks. It sucks.
He took an atomic drop. Yeah.
I know.
She was there.
Oh, yeah, you saw.
She watched it.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it for like what it was. Like, I'm not a big hardcore wrestling fan. which is really weird to say.
I like hardcore wrestling when it looks painful and it's dangerous, but it's not dangerous to the point of like, why did you? That was dumb.
They were both shared a smoke after the show. That picture's on Twitter. That made me happy.
Again, I saw a compilation once where a guy was literally German suplex with a cinder block on his head.
Yeah.
Fucking, that's stupid.
Why?
That's fucking stupid. So at least this was a contained chaos that, yeah, it's barbed wire and that rips flesh and stuff like that. But it never got to a point where it was like, these guys could die doing
And it's
this.
also super important to note, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen AEW at all, this isn't what their TNT show is going to be. Khan was very transparent about, like, this was a pay-per-view. Like, it was a free event, but it was a pay-per-view. Like, we will only go to that level on these kinds of shows. Like, this will not be on
Which
TNT.
you have to assume they're going to more when you look at some of the people they signed with Janela and Darby Allin and Jimmy
Moxley.
Havoc and Moxley. Like,
Or will there be a quote-unquote WWE, will there be a quote-unquote AEW style that they have to adjust to be on television?
I mean, and it may be like one of those things where they'll do a hardcore match on TV. That'll be more of the Nakazawa Jabali thing, whereas like the true. I can't imagine they're going to continue to do unsanctioned.
They have
So
to change
I feel like eventually they are going to have to call something a death match,
Yeah, and they may change up the word for it.
or they may come up with like a new term for it. Maybe.
Yeah, like their version of
Monsters
Extreme
Ball
Rules.
match, something,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But,
Because it's one of those like monster ball matches are more along the line of like what I would consider closer to a death match than what like, because like those matches were gross. This match,
some of them. This one did more than some of the Monster Balls matches.
that's true. Whenever I hear them, I'm thinking like we keep saying monster balls.
I don't give a shit.
No,
I'm
no,
tired and hungry.
No. The reason I keep laughing is my friend Jeremy worked at a video store, and a woman came in once, and she was asking if he had the movie Monsters Ball with Halle
Halle
Berry. But she said,
Who is not Ariel?
She's not.
Yeah,
that
I had to
also
read that
music.
one like 3 times too. Don't
But
worry.
she walked in and she walked up to her. She said, "Excuse me, sir, do you have monster balls?" And that's why I keep laughing, because I keep flashing back to that.
But
story.
yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry. Oh.
I really enjoyed that last match. I thought it made both guys look really good because Moxley had to kill Janela to like win.
And I think it did a lot to establish Janela too in the
Yeah.
eyes of people who may not be as familiar with him.
And then the end where Kenny Omega
I
just-
love that. See, and I love that because it was like, oh no, turnabout's fair play. Here we go. Let's do it.
And then Moxley versus Omega. I need that
It's
in
a
my
good
life.
setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So overall, it sounds like Fyter Fest was a good show, marred by a couple of dumb things.
Just cut out that pre-show. And
I heard there were a couple production issues that they talked about. I didn't see it, so I don't know for sure. One thing that I do want to mention, though, he mentioned the Kenny Omega Okuma thing, where you heard the crowd cheer, but the guy was just laid out and they didn't show it. That's actually a Street Fighter thing.
yeah, that's what I assumed it was.
Where it goes dark and Akuma like kills the guy, and then
Yeah.
so that was actually meant to be that thing.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I
yeah,
assumed.
because it was they did the fan came in and did the Batista thing.
yeah,
Which I thought was kind of funny.
I didn't understand it until the Akuma thing happened. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, checks out.
Yeah.
Because
we're
I liked
there.
Ken and I liked Matt and Nick as Ken and Ryu. Like I dug that, and then I was like, oh, I wonder. Like I didn't even think that Kenny would also be in.
Me and Sadie were saying he was going to be Cody. That was the one where like he's going to be dressed as Cody. We got it.
That'd be kind of
I
fun.
think it'd have been funny. Me and Asa talked about it if he had came out as Dan Abiki.
The pink.
The worthless one. All right. We're going to wrap this up real quick. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to Pro Wrestling Unscripted here on the Podzilla 1985 Network. Tip your local podcasters. Asa Gray is going to tell you how you can do that right now.
Yes. Patreon.com/Podzilla1985.
Welcome back.
$1. $1 will get you the pre-shows that we do every time. And all of the pre-shows too. So, we do 4 shows a week. You get 4. Even if it's like if you only listen to PWU, but you don't listen to Nerd Up, the pre-shows are totally separated from what the topic of the show is going to be.
They're usually
So
gold.
It's
Usually
usually when
gold.
we're doing our sound test, which doesn't take a whole lot of adjusting unless I'm doing it.
And we're having
then-
the most fun.
Yeah, and then it's just because it's off the cuff and just
Yeah.
random BS that we do. And then, of course, if you go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, subscribe. That helps with the metrics of like where we get placed in the recommendations for people, as well as any of those podcasting apps, whatever you use to podcast. Subscribe, follow on
Follow
Spotify.
us on Spotify. Yeah, we're on
'cause
Spotify.
We're back on
Which Spotify has quickly become like our second most listened to option.
sweet.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love listening on Spotify. It's so clean and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely give us a follow on there.
Yep. So that's great. Also, of course, Facebook.com/Podzilla1985, Twitter.com/Podzilla1985. And that's pretty much it. Tell your friends, if there's something. Also, let us know, like, if you think I'm way off base with my, like,
Deathmatch,
If you can give us a definition, we would be fucking happy.
if I'm being way too, like, overprotective, I guess, of, Because to me, it feels disrespectful to like Moxley and Janela
Yeah.
for what they did, and like, oh well, I'm gonna get mad about you're using a term that I don't think they deserve.
You can't
That's
use
the way-
our term.
See, yeah, that's the way that I'm taking it, and it's especially when it's those two guys. It's just
Yeah.
like, so yeah, if you think I'm being way overprotective, let me know. If you think if you disagree with us about the chair shot stuff, or if you agree with us, whatever, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, let us know what you think. What did you think of Fighter Fest? What are you looking forward to with Slammiversary?
Who's your favorite Street Fighter character?
Yes,
Because
Also,
mine
and why
legitimately
it
is
Sagat?
Ken.
Why is it Sagat?
Oh, Sagat's so good. Except in the original game where his voice was like, Tiger!
What was it like?
Giant dude.
I mean,
Tiger knee.
Have you heard Goku's Japanese voice?
Goku as in like Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Is it female?
It might as well
I
be.
don't know.
Because
But
I heard it's pretty.
It's very different from what we get in America. Anyway, for more on that, stay tuned to my Twitch with Weeby Weebs, debuting never.
I am so down for that show.
Weeby Weebs
yeah.
is probably my favorite new show.
Facebook.com, Podzilla1985, Twitter.com/Podzilla1985, and then, of course, Patreon.com /Podzilla1985. We got the $1. It's only $1 for all the pre-shows.
Dollar make you holler.
And then, of course, if you listen to last night's episode of Nerds for Hire and you decide, you know what, I do want to waterboard Trevor Camp.
Hype train.
For Hype Train. That's it. That's what I said. Who'd you say?
I didn't say anything. You said it.
$420.69. You can waterboard Trevor, and I think Jesse made the announcement that we will also throw in the Alley recording.
Oh, nice. You get two for the
of
price of
the
one.
F-bomb. So
Yeah. We have the new $1 million tier where you can literally dissect one of us.
you can hunt. You can hunt
hunt
Dalton
and
for
kill.
sport. But if Dalton survives to dawn, you have to double the donation.
That's true. That's true.
That's just how it works.
Well, now if I die, I'm going to feel like a piece of shit. Thanks, guys.
No, you'll be dead. You won't feel anything.
Yeah, this is true.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see. Actually, we will not see you tomorrow. More than likely, we're taking tomorrow off because this is the 4th of July.
Yep.
I haven't hammered out anything for sure, but we'll probably take the night off because the one time I think we did a 4th of July show on 4th of July, I was not happy because everybody was like distracted because it was the 4th of July. Like, God, give everybody a day off. So we're going to do that. So we'll see you next Sunday for Nerd Up. Till then, take care of yourselves. Don't jump onto aprons. Do not pass go turtle dicks.